Okay, he gonna take D's blessing and take his own blessing. He wasn't gonna tell you that. Where you go, D? That's what he did as a menace, huh?
Doubled over, you know. Listen, we need the harvest to reap, you know.
I hear it, bro. I hear it, bro. You're absolutely right. And it's your birthday soon, so we need to bless you as well. God bless you. All right, next person we got to invite on the stage. Now, you know who she is. Straight talking, straight shooting. Baby, she says the things that we wish we could say. You know what I'm saying to you? All right, she had the foresight gift as well. We might call her prophetess. You know what I'm saying to you? Okay, she be telling you, I told y'all, okay? All right, she be staying in that position, ready to receive a word from the Lord, okay? Someone might even say she'll be a Jeremiah up in this thing, okay? A weeping prophet, you know what I'm saying? Because when she say it, it be coming to pass, okay? All right, don't let her tell you twice. No, you know who this person is, okay? She definitely gonna tell somebody that they're sassy. Definitely. And I have no problem with her. She definitely gonna say it today. We know she gonna say somebody sassy. Okay, all right. So we can't wait to have our favorite panelist. You love her. I love her because it's always only one way it ever goes. And it is a C-way. What are you telling me, baby?
Oh my gosh, I'm crying. You're so funny. Hi guys. Hello.
That's right. We appreciate you very, very much, C-Way. God bless you. Okay, God bless you. Now, obviously, my two other panelists coming up. You know, I haven't formulated words for you guys just yet. You know what I'm saying to you? We're not there yet. You know what I'm saying to you? But, you know, I appreciate both of you. You know what I mean? So I'm going to invite onto the platform and the stage as well, okay? You know who they are already. They've been here before. They've duked it out. They've battled. They've said some words that have been of wisdom. They've given you guys insights, okay? Both my panelists here. The first person I'm going to invite onto the stage is V, baby. How you doing, V?
Hey,
How
y'all.
you doing?
Good,
What's
good.
good?
I told El Cid I was going to take a break from eating my wings and taking my nap and come up on here with y'all because I miss y'all so much. So I'm glad to be up here with you all.
Hey V.
Hey.
It's good seeing you, B. Good seeing you as well. And we're going to invite to the stage. You know who he is. He's unpopular. Okay, all right? He's unpopular. He going to say what you probably don't want him to say, but he going to say it nonetheless. And we appreciate him for that. Okay? Unpopular opinion. How you doing, Captain Phil? What are you telling me?
Good evening, everybody. I'm on the road on my way home. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, remember, we are brothers and sisters in Christ because my opinions are definitely unpopular tonight. It's going to be carnage. I am giving y'all, see-way, you going to see me on one of them, but when I tell you it's carnage, yeah, it's carnage, baby.
I'm excited.
I am scared and simultaneously happy at the same time. I know it's going to be a good show. I appreciate you, Phil, for joining us on the road as well. It's much, much appreciated. I don't even know where to start first. But, you know, since, you know, this is C-Way's favorite person, I'm going to start with them first, okay? She be calling him sassy every single time. The brother could have died. She going to call him sassy. He could be the coffin. He going to call him sassy. He could be with Jesus. He going to be sassy.
Starting with him because Jay called me and let me know that I was right. I mean, not that I have to say that. I appreciate Jay for giving me the call. A lot of people wouldn't. They wouldn't do it.
Jay, why did you call her? Now she ain't never gonna forget. She go. One thing C-Way gonna do. She gonna tell you right.
I was fighting for my life too. Fighting Elsie, fighting for my life.
Yeah, because you called me and tell me that I was right.
I think we both are right. I think we both were right. That's actually what I think. I think me and Elsie were right. I think we were both right.
I love the competition.
If that's possible.
No, I'm loving it.
It's
Listen, I'm
right
here for
See,
it.
Tim is bringing us together.
I am loving it straight away. I want to be able to hear you guys' opinions because we're going to start with Tim and we're going to start off with Alex as well. And I want to get your opinions on that because, you know, obviously old boy put the ice cooler on Alex and his connection and said, ta-ra, ta-ra, it's good night, curtains. So let me play a little bit of a clip so you guys can see, remind you of what happened on that, and I'd love to hear your point of view. Let's go.
But there is no scenario that I see myself standing there and saying yes to making you my wife forever.
Damn.
And with that in mind, and I'm glad we can at least agree that I don't ever want to see you again.
He was excited to say that dinner is over.
Psychos.
I want to know, Seaway, since Prophet Seaway said that he's sassy, I want to know, honestly, remember, we're talking about the whole span of, we're in 11 episodes. So taking in the whole span of what's happened, I want your opinion. What did you feel about Tim? What's been going on? Talk to me, Seaway. What's your opinion?
Okay, so I'm going to say shout out to TikTok because I've taken in a lot of information, and unfortunately, this cannot be boiled down to him being sassy on its own. I wish sassy was the only explanation, but I'm gonna have to take a little bit of kojo. I'm gonna have to get a little bit deeper. It is deeper than him being sassy, but sassy he is. I did not know that his sister died a couple of months before they started filming. I knew that one had died before, but I didn't know that one had died just a couple of months before he started filming. Here's what I think happened. He applied for the show. His sister unfortunately died. He said he probably told himself, I'm just going to throw myself into this show, probably believing in that, like one person dies, then one person enters your life. You know how like people feel like when a family member dies, then you get pregnant or you have a baby, like one of those things. Then he went on with the show. He thought he trauma dumped all on Alex, who was also phony kicking in the pods, but we'll get to that in a second. She dumped on her, and then when they got to the hands over the mouth situation, he got the lights came on, and he was like, this person cannot be a replacement for my sister. This person is never going to be anything like my sister. This is not the love that I expected. And then after that, instead of walking away like he said he was going to do when he put his bags at the door, then he kind of did a little bit of what I was saying and what El Cid was saying. It was a combination of the two. He was being sassy in some ways, but in other ways, he wasn't letting her in. I do think that he had a plan to leave somewhat all along. I don't know if that was in the forefront of his mind, but it definitely was in the back of his mind. He wasn't being affectionate. He wasn't hugging her. He wasn't any of that. Because now he's repulsed by her because he really wanted her to be his sister, found out that she couldn't be that, and then he's nitpicking because he was dropping receipts. And I'm sorry, y'all, I got a lot of thoughts on this. He was dropping receipts on the Instagram, and even his receipts, in my opinion, weren't receipting. They were very petty. I don't know any man that gets mad over like that type of stuff unless you're full of sass and you're very, very petty. And so, yeah, I just feel like it was a combination of things, Kojo and Panel. I think he wanted Alex to be like his sister so bad. And then when it didn't work out, when he couldn't get that love that he was trying to replace, the inner sass, and to me, he acts like his mama a little bit. He seems very like, he seems to mirror women behavior, from his leg crossing to his smirks, to his jabs, to his little nasty remarks. He just has, he seems like he mirrors women. And so I don't know if he's as far as some people are taking it. Some people are calling him a narc. Some people are calling him crazy. I think he is a damaged person at the peak of sass. I think that's what you guys are seeing. A very hurt person who expresses their hurt in a very sassy demeanor. And I do think, to El Cid's point, I do not feel like he was plotting on her 100%, but he plotted with that statement that he made. And that's the reason why people think he's crazy, because he definitely rehearsed that. And he thought he ate with that. And it was very unfortunate. So I'm going to let y'all go. I got more thoughts, but I wanted to wrap it up all in that. Okay?
Nah, you started strong. And I appreciate that. And thank you for even giving a bit more balanced nuance. I didn't know his sister had passed just a few weeks before the show. I didn't realize. I thought it was all in the past. So that does make a bit more sense as well. Maybe why he was emotionally dumping. Okay. Anybody have an opposing view to the sass and aspect as well? Anyone want to... Okay, yes, El Cid. And Sean. El Cid first and then Sean.
You know I'm going to counter Seaway. I don't use the sassy word. But I do acknowledge, toxic behavior. But Tim was like, I was going to leave here with something. He was not going to leave with him, just walking away and the whole mush situation and let other people tell his narrative. Tim was like, just like how you have with siblings, I'm going to get you back. I'm going to get you back, and I'm going to get you back on camera. And he waited and waited and waited. I do believe he was like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it epic, and I'm going to have my walkout. I'm going to have my moment. But again, I think the narrative will be different if she didn't put her hands on him. I would have been totally on Seaway's side if she didn't put her hands on him. But as soon as she did that, he backed away. And for me, it looks like a man that grew up around sisters, around women. This happened. Well, I will make sure no action of mine can be seen as combative or aggressive or getting back at you. So the one thing he could do is this. Yap. That's the one thing he could do to get back. And that's what he did. I do not agree with going and reading the letter to the dad, but hey, Alex lied to her dad first. Alex came and lied to her dad and didn't tell her dad the whole truth or situation. So the whole lying to the dad, I'm going to put on Alex's lap. I'm not putting it on Tim. He may continue with it, but I put that on Alex. But, she knew it was coming that night. You couldn't tell me. She should have known it was coming the minute he walked into that apartment and she saw how his apartment looked. She should have known it was the end. I'm sorry. There is no gentleman that I know that walk into there and be like, that's the wife for me. Sorry.
I definitely hear that. Sean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, as you announced, I'm on my journey, right, of just kind of unpacking misogyny, working on a lot of the things that we need to deprogram and unlearn. So the only reason I want to push back against the sassy narrative, and it's not to say that Tim was right or Tim's execution was the right way about going about ending the relationship with Alex, but I just think that sassy narrative unfortunately plays into toxic masculinity. It plays into homophobia because it puts negative traits on marginalized people. So if we're really, want men to stand up and be men, stand up and support women, stand up and, not be always in a position to assert their power, then we also have to let go of some of these terms too. So I think sassy is one of them that kind of needs to be, we need to be delivered from it, and I think that we can come up with other adjectives for his behavior. Petty, definitely, I would agree. I would say he has, a way of asserting his anger and being one-sided. And that's what I saw from Tim. He's very one-sided. He's a very black and white kind of person. So if you don't do this, then it means that, right? If you didn't do it because I shouldn't have to tell you to do something, you should already know. That's his mentality. And unfortunately, that's not relationships. I think he never really gave Alex a chance, especially after that first infraction. Not to say he should have, but if he was going to continue in the relationship, then he should have given her some good faith, right? And that means, okay, if I'm going to stay here, then I'm going to give you some chance, and I'm not just going to keep, looking for reasons to knock you down. And I think he planned it, he plotted it, and then in that moment when he had enough and seen enough from her, then that's when he just kind of went down that path of just being really, really, just rude and demeaning to her in that moment. So those are my thoughts.
Sean DJ said, okay, no sassy, but vindictive, vicious, petty, and unreasonable. I'll take those over sassy. I think those work just fine. We could go with that as well. Because I do think to Sean's point, people think, I'm not going to do a whole dissertation, but people think sassy means gay or and it really doesn't. It really means you know what I mean? But I do think people think it means you're trying to call them that, and that's not really what it means all the time. At least not in this case. I don't think Tim is a part of the community. And you guys know I always will let you know if I think somebody's part of the community. I don't think he's part of the community. I just think he acts like his mama. So.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and appreciate both of your points as well. Like I said, Deacon is a whole new man. This is why the Lord said you got to stay at home. This is it. He's putting you on your purpose, my good sir. Okay, you go and change the whole church at this point. B, talk to me. What's your perspective on the situation with Tim? You know.
Well, I think we're like treading on, we're playing on both sides of the fence because we're talking about misogyny and what's considered sassy and everything. The comments that I have seen is that Alex is masculine because she doesn't know how to clean her house. She doesn't know all the right things to do. I'm a Southern Belle and an island girl. I do know what I had to do, what was expected of me when I met the person that I was going to marry. And people are expecting her to do all that, and we're not sure how she was raised, what the different ways that she was taught to interact when you meet different people. Hence the reason people saying her keeping her hand in her pocket. She was dead wrong for not washing the dishes. That was wrong. That's not a gender role thing. But I do not care for Tim. He basically was acting to me ridiculous from the time they walked out and met each other. Yeah, he said she was fine and everything, but he immediately started antagonizing her, doing things that she didn't like. He pointed out that whenever somebody tells him to do something, he's going to do the opposite. The barking, I would have left out the barking, to be honest with you. The barking, the barking, yes, I would have been out of there. It would have been a wrap. Yeah, you think I'm fine, but you are doing things just to get under my skin. Buying the hat that he knows that she doesn't like, wearing the shirt that his ex doesn't like. It's just way too contrary for me. And I honestly think he did not want to be with her after Cabo. I thought it was done way before then, but he seems to be more about aesthetics and facades. Even the stuff that he did with her family, he knew he didn't like her, but he put on a show to pretend that he liked her in front of the father, reading the letter, knowing he didn't like this girl, cooking all the food, and he expected her to reciprocate. And she didn't because she didn't like him either. So I felt like it was almost like they were just going for TV time. But the way that he ended it, if I was Alex, we wanted Alex to beg him back. The way he sat back and waited a minute and smirked for her to respond, it felt like he wanted her to beg him to stay. And baby, I would have just kept eating my food too. And he could have left. It looked like they didn't even live together. So I wouldn't have put up with it. I do not care for Tim. Yes, Alex gives off lazy. I don't want to diagnose her, but a couple of the things that I saw gives off depression or something. But I think we're judging based on a bunch of poorly edited clips, so we don't really know what happened. So that's my take on it.
Unpopular opinion, talk to me.
Okay, the deacon has touched my heart because when Tim did the whole I never want to see you again, Seaway, he was the S word, but we're going to go with vindictive. However, in the situation, I am on Tim's side. That's the crazy part. I agree with him. But when he said, I never want to see you again, I said, if this it was the S word. Very vindictive. He wanted to embarrass the woman. That's what I saw, even though I felt his feelings were valid, but he wanted to embarrass her. And I think Tim is a contrarian. I think he likes to get under people's skin for sport. And when you're trying to get married, that's not really what you need to do. But when I heard, I never want to see you again, I said the S word. But now he's vindictive and petty and vicious.
I love the breakdowns you guys are giving. You know, I think personally, you know, with the Tim situation, I'm gonna be that guy. You know, because I get better, you know, at a different perspective. We cannot forget her behavior. Whilst I believe that he did a little wrong in there, he got a little get back. He is definitely petty. We know that because from the very beginning of the pod, he told us that he wore a shirt just to piss off his girlfriend. So petty is going to be his tagline. I don't think you can get away with being petty. That tagline. It's just interesting that the conversation here outwardly TikTok has shifted. and has been forgotten to how we actually got here in the first place. Now, I still think it's diabolical that he read the letter. I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says. It's diabolical because he kind of knew that he knew deep down that he wasn't fully invested, and he read that letter. For me, that's diabolical. I can't lie to you. The dad, it's like, you know, you're in gangster warfare. The parents ain't got nothing to do with it. Why you got to take the parents out? You know what I mean? Like, you deal with the person you're meant to be dealing with. You know what I mean? I thought that was diabolical. I will be honest with you, as well, in that particular behavior. But I thought it was diabolical, the fact that she put her hand in his face, and I can't forget that. I think if the roles were reversed, we would be not talking so much about her pettiness and her leaving. In fact, we'd be like this: "Yes, girl, we so glad you left his little ass. We're so glad because he put his hand in your face." We would not forget that his hand was in her face. And I think the fact that we've forgotten it kind of shows us that the way that we think about men is very different to how we think about women when it comes to those kind of scenarios and situations. It does not excuse the behavior within it. I'm just saying that the conversation is interesting, how it shifted its particular place to where it's now simply about the pettiness that he did, which, by the way, I actually agree with you, is very petty. You know what I mean? It has some vindictiveness to it as well. And I still think he's diabolical for talking to the dad. That, for me, yeah. You know, if a girl did that to me, I can't lie to you, I'm calling heaven. Okay, and I'm asking for the angelic reinforcements as well, because you definitely are spiritual wickedness in high places for me personally. Why would you talk to my dad knowing that my dad is kind of frail as well, and you telling him that you know that you love me that much and daga? Nah, sorry, you can't get a pass for that. But again, I think the conversation shifted so much to his pettiness that we almost forgot that kind of aspect as well. You know what I mean? You know, so yes, Seaway, go for it.
I think just to put it into context, and before people start, I'm not telling you this is how you have to feel. I'm telling you how this is how people view it. When a woman, usually, especially if it's the same size, puts her hands, I mean, unless she uses some type of weapon, her hands on a man's mouth, that's on the level of disrespect, right? People find that to be disrespect, not causing fear or causing violence, if that makes sense. So that's the reason why people were dragging her initially, because they found her to be disrespectful. On the other hand, I'm not saying y'all have to agree. I'm just talking about reality. I want everybody to be in the reality that we live in. Everybody, I'm looking at you, El Cid. When a man puts his hands in any way on a woman, people find that to be violent, to be a form of intimidation. It goes beyond disrespect, which, to answer your question, Kojo, I think is the reason why people wouldn't look past that. People look past disrespect all the time. I think the conversation shifted because Alex was being drugged in the beginning for being disrespectful. But I think people morally found him reading the letter to the dad, and who has MS, and then turning around and doing this antics as either an even playing field or more disrespectful. I think that is the turn. Now, everybody can shake their head, but there is a reason why the community at large went from dragging Alex, people were dragging her and defending Tim, to now they say she put her hands on his mouth. But there's a reason for that, and I'm just explaining the reason. Personally, to me, I found the hands over the mouth to be I wouldn't call it diabolical, but I thought it was up there with diabolical. I did say that. I thought that was wild. And I've done a lot of stuff. I haven't tried that one. That was a new one. I have never done that. I thought that was pretty bad. But reading a letter to the dad with MS and turning around smiling and smirking, talk about, I never want to see you again. I'm sorry, that's worse. That's worse to me. Fight somebody else. To me, it was worse. It was worse. So, Kojo, that's what I'm saying. To answer your question, I believe that is the reason. People don't have to agree with it, but I think that's the reason.
No, I like that point. I see El Cid and Sean kind of shaking their heads. What's your guys' thoughts? El Cid, talk to me. What are you saying? What's your thought?
I'm sorry. Disrespectful is too tame. Because if Tim touched her in an unwanted way, we would see it as assault. We would see it as assault. So why are we? Yes, but why are we sugarcoating Alex? It is assault. It's not disrespectful. It's assault.
But Elsie,
it's assault.
On to what I'm saying. I just explained the difference.
It is assault. You didn't say assault. You said it's disrespectful.
But I
And we
said
look at
why. No,
disrespect.
I said why. I explained. Elsie not listening, chat. I said
I
why.
am listening to you. I'm not hearing the oomph for Alex's assault. Your Maylee's phrasing is disrespectful, and we see it in a different
By the
way.
definition, it's technically battery, right? It's assault and battery by definition, to be clear. What I'm saying is that if I put my hands on Kojo, okay, they're going to say, why you do that? You're disrespecting the man. Kojo put his hands on me. People going to think we need to call them boys. It's two different things because Kojo can cause me harm. Unless I pick up a weapon, I'm assuming I can't cause Kojo much harm. You get what I'm saying? Elsie, that is the facts of the matter. I can't.
I don't assume
And you, Elsie, if we and you team up, we can get Kojo some go. Okay, me and
I don't need help to take Kojo, but I appreciate it. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Somebody, they said simple assault. Okay, I'm weak.
You know, this Brownsville girl. Yeah.
Well, never mind.
I appreciate it.
Maybe for you, it's assault. Okay, and for you, it's assault. For me, it's just a little disrespect.
But I would like to see the footage of it too, because again, I think what is happening with me is I'm hearing what they're saying, but I haven't seen it. So I'm reacting to hand over mouth. I'm reacting to something I have not seen. So that's the grace I would give, in that she did agree. She did put her hands on his mouth, but I'm like, how did it happen? Was it a shush? Was it a mush? We're all assuming. So I agree that it is a height of disrespect, but you know, I don't want to look at it as if he did it to her, we would see it worse than she doing it to him. That's it.
Go for
Yeah,
sure.
I think that this happens so often when we see these kind of fractures in couples, and we think that we're going to see a clear person that was right and clear person that was wrong, and I think everybody plays a part, and I think it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, whether she's a woman or he's a man, if somebody touches you unprovoked, it is a form of assault, right? It is a form of abuse that is unwarranted. Now, we can choose to forgive, we can choose to move on, and that's one thing. But people don't often act the way we expect them to do. And I think sometimes, like, what I'm seeing is, well, he should have left in. It doesn't work that way. It does that. Nobody 9 times out of 10, the first time somebody gets abused, they don't necessarily leave. That's how they're in an abusive situation. So I just feel like we just have to give him a little grace in that moment to choose to or not to, right? I think in his actions, now we can hold him accountable for being mean or being vindictive. But we can't just swing the pendulum so far and just kind of erase. It's almost kind of like there's an erasure of Alex because we feel like what Tim did overshadowed what she did. And it's just two people acting out of their trauma because they're both traumatized. So there's no clear right or wrong, in my opinion. You know, everybody can kind of come to where they want to come to. But I think for us to like pile onto him and like, this is what we knew. It's kind of like now we're backing into it. All these things, and we're filling in all these gaps that we don't necessarily know to be true. We don't know that he read that letter to the father with intention of dumping his daughter after that. We don't know. He might have felt that way in the moment, but changed. Because there's also that as a possibility. So I don't think we should just jump from 1 to 2 just because we saw him acting out in a particular way. The same thing that we also have to like hold equal weight for some of the things that Alex did in the relationship, and also, you know, hold room for the fact that he was being honest about how he felt, how she was acting towards his family, how he felt her feelings towards the relationship were negative. So I think there's some room in there for us to, you know, talk about that too.
To be fair to Sean's point, I think they were triggering each other. And I think Alex said that in her, I loved how she kind of said that in her story I'm not gonna say I will say she fully took the high road in saying like, hey, like, I know y'all are jumping on him with whatever, and he doing his little screenshots, whatever he doing, but I feel like they were triggering each other. And I just think it is what it is. My explanation, just to be clear, was to answer what Kojo was saying, how it seems like, I would say 80 to 90% of the discourse now is only on Tim. And I was explaining why. One, it's recency bias, right? This is the most recent thing that people are seeing. So of course they're gonna, feel away. But I think in general, I think there was a lot of ping pong between the two, feeding on each other's problems, feeding on each other's issues. And at the end of the day, I guess to Sean's point, I don't think anyone is a hero here. I think you got two sets of villains in a different way. And then depending on how you look at it, you're going to find who you think is the worst. And that's up to you to decide. I'm not going to tell people what to decide. For me, his behavior was a bit triggering for me. Maybe somebody else who got mushed before, or they got, they're domestic violence victims or whatever. Maybe Alex's behavior would be more triggering to you. It really is up to your own personal experience. But I think both of them, were causing each other some problems. And probably they both were not ready to go on the show for different reasons that we have already seen and talked about. So, yeah, that's what I think.
V, you got anything to add to that? I'm just in debate.
Yeah, I'm kind of just looking at the comments. People saying that men's feelings don't matter. This man dumped his feelings for like the entire podcast. She sat there, she listened. That was one of the reasons that he fell in love with her, supposedly. So I just think that the same way he says that she's not wife material, he assessed her for his life, and he said that she will never be his wife. And the way that he ended it kind of gave a Tyler Perry show. It was, the smirk, the dramatic exit. I think that's what caught people off guard. The same way she's not wife material, there's a lot of traits that I saw in him that I do not think would be conducive to a healthy relationship. I saw a little bit of controlling, no giveaway. I'm not giving to, no compromise. There were several things that he did that I do not think tied to relationships either. So I think both sides are basically in the wrong, and we just got to see it play out. So, and I do believe that they're showing way less footage than they did in previous seasons for several reasons. So we're literally getting dropped in the middle of fights and not knowing why. Everybody is upset. So, but that's my thoughts on it.
Listen, I definitely hear it. And listen, we will lead them to it in a diabolical state. Okay, let's move on to the next one, because we need to talk about obviously Garrett and Taylor. And I'm gonna confess to you guys, I did watch episode 11, but I skipped through really, really quickly. So I know they went on a date. I have no clue what they said. I don't know if that man made it up to her after lying about his ex conversation. I don't know if the wine kicked in, so you guys are gonna have to help me on that situation. But I will need to know obviously about Garrett and Taylor. I'm gonna play a little bit of a clip so you guys can also see that situation play a hand in its affairs as well. Let me just play a clip for you guys, because Garrett's out here giving us all a bad name once more again. I mean, he done called himself out right in front of his girl because his mouth was too loose. That is not how we play the game, sir. Okay? If you're going to lie to the end. Okay? Jesus is Lord.
Oh, no,
You
I'm sorry.
responded?
I'm sorry. So I said, well,
This is different.
I said, okay.
Okay, well, let me see your phone. What did you say?
It's over there. I can go get it, but can I get it later?
Nigga, you need to go and get it now. So I don't know what your thoughts are. And the crazy thing is the fact that I know that Tyler was sweating when he was listening to the conversation, because he's like, I done lied too. Damn. I just got back into her good graces. I don't need your ass messing up my situation. I just got actually back, and you lying as well, bro. It's not helping. You triggering my girl, bro. I know he wanted to be out of that place. So I want to know your thoughts, Garrett and Taylor, especially after that lie as well, and put in the blanks episode 11, because I don't remember what happened on that for them two actually specifically. So who would like to take residence with them two first? Who's got a good strong opinion on the Garrett and Taylor situation? Yes, V.
Yeah. So basically, the way it comes off to me, I think that they're a good pairing. especially because they're both STEM majors. Shout out to the STEM majors. They interact on that level. They speak the same language. But I think that Garrett just lied, and he was trying to find a way to get out of saying that he lied. So he used, logic and analysis and big words to basically explain why his lie was okay and inconsequential. And I think that Taylor is very, very insecure because she said she got cheated on and she blew up something that probably didn't need to be that big. But because he lied, then it turned into I got to prove my point and he had to prove his point to both figure out who was right or wrong. And at the end, she basically just gave in because she wants to marry him. They want to be married. So she just let the lie go. Sometimes that happens. But yeah, I think he lied, and the definition of a lie was just going on way too long. I usually skip past their scenes, but she came on there knowing that she lived in San Diego, came on Love is Blind DC, made all these demands, but he wants to be married and he wants to be with her. So he's going to make all the sacrifices to be with her, and she's going to allow him to lie so she could be with him. And that's going to be it.
Yep. Sean, go for it.
Yeah, I did something, and I'm trying to use my words again the right way, and not look at this in a lens of man versus woman. What I do see from Taylor, like V mentioned, is this insecurity that drives her to want to control. And I think that is a dynamic that she probably should explore, because you often project, and then your behavior is you're always in a defensive stance with your partner. And how I saw Garrett show up is like a child to me with his parent. And I don't think that's a healthy dynamic in a relationship. And I understand the place where it's coming from Taylor. It's because she wants to do everything that she can to control the situation so that it doesn't happen again. But what often happens is you create a dynamic where the person doesn't feel free to be themselves. Because at the end of the day, he should be free to communicate with someone, and it shouldn't be controlled by what his partner wants him to do or not. And I'm not saying he should be able to be disrespectful, but at the end of the day, this person was a part of his life. If he chooses to communicate with her, he shouldn't be held under that microscope. So I feel like Garrett's behavior is almost coming off like he's rebelling. And he rebelled a little bit, did something he probably knew he wasn't supposed to do. And then he's trying to speak and cover it up or, explain it away. But Taylor's not having it. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing play out, because she's pummeling him with questions and let me see your phone. And I just don't think that's a healthy dynamic, because she's not giving him the goodwill and grace for from what we've seen, had a good relationship up to this point. So I think she has to kind of let back the reins and stop trying to be so overly focused on the control aspect and to allow their relationship to breathe, because people are going to make mistakes. People are going to do things incorrectly. That's kind of how I see it. And then I also feel like their dynamic is very heavily weighted with her. We're moving to San Diego. This is the reasons why. I don't want to have kids at this point. I want to have them here. So I think we just need to, consider balance. Nothing is ever right here, but there should also be parity in relationships, in my view. And I think they got some things off balance. And I think that's kind of what's happening here.
Good points. I like it. Okay. Welcome back, Phil. I want to get your thoughts on Garrett and Taylor.
Oh, Taylor is a dark artist. She's a manipulative control freak. How you come on Love is Blind DC, but you want the man to just up and move to San Diego? Nah, Taylor ain't that nice. She gaslit him with that whole race conversation about her mother's name. That was gaslighting. Now you want the man to move to San Diego, but you came on Love is Blind DC. Now, so Taylor, Yeah, dark artist, liar, control freak. I'm with you totally 100%, Sean. Garrett, did she really not think he responded to the message? That was my question. You didn't think he gave any response? Nah, get out of here. Taylor is not meant to be trusted. She's another Monica, but she does it better. She does it nasty, but she does it with a smile, and she does it with her soft voice, and she does it with her MC square because she's a physicist. They're all in the STEM majors. Nah, get out of here. Taylor can go. Garrett, yeah, nah, she can go. Sorry. Carnage. I told y'all.
I just want to say, I hope that's not what you heard me say.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does Sean?
There may have been some overlapping in our opinions, but that wasn't what I wanted to take away.
The control factor. Yo, Taylor is controlling. She knew he responded. What else was he supposed to do? You not upset because of nothing. You upset because he hearted the message? Get out of here. You knew he responded. She wanted him to be honest. Now, if she was mad about that, I can take that. Why you respond? What did you say? Did you say something inappropriate? I can take that. But nah, she knew he responded from the jump. Yo, don't come in this party with all these tears. And then you want to get around your homegirl and give me more tears. And then you got me stumbling and bumbling because I didn't got caught up because I lied by omission, because that's what he really did. I'm going to give Garrett that. He lied by omission. But get out of here, yo. What you thought he did? Come on. Nah, I'm not for Taylor. Sorry.
Here's where I agree with Phil. So Taylor's upset that he didn't say the whole story. But when she got the whole story, he did exactly what she wanted him to do. She wanted him to say, I'm in a relationship. Please don't contact me. We're done. She wanted that. So she heard, yes, he did say something to her, and he said exactly what she wanted him to say. So I'm with feeling like she went a little overboard for me, because when you finally hear the whole story, it's like, okay, I can't be mad that you did what I wanted you to do. I can be mad that you lied to me and didn't tell me the whole truth. But I see Taylor the way, I see her as a quiet Micah from previous seasons. And I can see, that's why on my live, I said, I can see Garrett saying no. And now I can understand Taylor's timeline. Because for a man to have to move across the country, get acclimated to that location, and then to have kids, I'm like, I understand her longer timeline.
It's always about Taylor and what Taylor wants and what's on Taylor's timeline and what Taylor needs. Taylor is somewhat selfish.
Can I go now?
Yeah.
I'm a little interested in this take. I didn't think we were gonna take it here. But okay. I pretty much am gonna echo mostly what Sean said, but I'm gonna say Taylor may be insecure, she does give a little selfish. This whole San Diego thing does come off as a bait and switch. Okay, we got all that. But him not telling the truth because he's under pressure is a character flaw. Just because you're under pressure and you get to lying and then you get to add it on to your lie, to me, is a character flaw. And she has a right to be confused by that, because if you're intimidated by the girl, you shouldn't be with nobody you're intimidated by to the point where you just gonna start lying and doing whatever. Especially if all you did was like it and then you responded with that. Sound like you responded and you said all the right things. So why are you lying? Like, I just can't give a lot of room for someone lying and then the excuse be this because they were under pressure. To me, that's on his character. Now, if they're meant to be with each other or what the problem is, I'm not sure. And I definitely can't go with the race thing. Because to me, Garrett is on my list anyway, because I think if he had a black girl, he was going to be pissed. The only reason why he said that she was manipulative is because he thought that she was hiding her voice and trying to pretend like she was white. He probably thought she was black or something. So I don't like Garrett no way. So but I'm really doing my best to even be non-biased because I don't like the man. I think he's a closet racist. Not even closet. He's out in the open. But with that aside, if we can put that aside, I do think Taylor has some issues and she's very controlling, for sure. And I think she's controlling because she's trying to control over, control herself getting hurt. I don't think Taylor wants to get hurt, so she's trying to like really micromanage that. And the thing about falling in love is you can't micromanage that. You either let go and pray the person doesn't hurt you, or you don't let go. You can't do both. And she's trying to do both right now. And that's not going to work. It's not going to work. You got to open yourself up to getting hurt or it won't work. I think Marissa said that too. You can't do it. So, but he a liar though, and he needs to fix that. That little lying problem gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So it's not a good start. Her dad's white, and then she's half model minority. So he just didn't want her to be half a Negro. Half white, half
well placed or what?
That
chime seemed like it perfectly punctuated your point.
Oh yeah, my text message. Yeah, she's straight. You half white, half model minority. You good? You good? He don't mind that too much. He just didn't want no Negro features. That's what he didn't want.
Damn. Does anyone else believe that point as well? I never got that point. Maybe I'm not looking close enough. I just never got that point from him. Do you know what I'm saying to you? You know what I'm saying to you? I personally don't have a problem if somebody says their preference is white. I don't think that's racist. I think that's just normal. It's like my preference for black.
No, it wasn't that part. It wasn't that part. It was he could say his preference is white, I guess. That's fine. But then when he started calling her conniving is where I got the ick. I'm like, why is she conniving? Like the undertone to it, that's the side conversation, man. I don't want to derail it. But it was some undertones to that you're being conniving part really gave to me that you think that she has to hide herself or pretend to be white to try to get over instead of the fact that she's just being herself. Like that's to me what it gave. So I don't know. It was weird to me.
V says she agrees. Why V? And Phil, I'll get you on after.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was like everything was the whole point of the experiment is for love to be blind, right? And a lot of people were dropping hints in different ways what they look like, what ethnicity and everything. And when she said she wasn't gonna give her mother's first name, the way he started speaking to her, saying she was, like you said, conniving, manipulative, all those other things leads me to believe that he had a preference for white folks. He didn't want anything other than that. He really acted like he was panicking. I also feel that's the reason that the mother is acting the way that she acts as well. So I never saw it for Garrett. I never did. So I totally agree with Seaway as usual.
Is it true? Because I was like Kojo speeding through some of their parts because they bored the hell out of me. Somebody on TikTok said that his family was crying when they seen her and not in a good way.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I missed that, but somebody said that's why they really feel like he racist because when he came in there, the family was crying like they was like pissed off.
Yeah.
All in the comments.
My family might cry too. They see a white woman come into my house, but they won't tell you that. You know what I'm saying, Chi?
But
they might not say it out loud.
Is, Garrett always said he only dated Caucasian.
Yes,
he said that. He's only ever dated Caucasian. So does he truly know a preference, or is it just situational because he's never experienced anything else?
Both can be true. If that's all you're around, yeah. But you also know when you're attracted to somebody as well, So I guess both can be true. But that's what I saw. I never saw it for Garrett. So from then.
I didn't think Garrett was racist. I never got the racist thing, but when the whole race topic came up, I was like, well, she's like the next to his race with her mixed nationality anyway. So I didn't get racist with her. I actually feel like Taylor had an issue and she thought it would be a problem herself. And she kind of projected onto Garrett because, you're talking about your mom. I asked your mom's name and then you say, "Oh, I don't want to give it to you," of course I'm going to assume it was an ethnic name and stuff like that. So I don't know. I didn't get racist from Garrett. I thought Taylor was projecting, and I mean, like, let's be honest. Garrett is kind of dry, who likes to fish, and he's a science nerd. You know, how many women really checking for Garrett? You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be funny, but just being honest. And with the mom crying, I think the mom is just emotional about the whole situation. I think automatically assuming that the mom was crying because this mixed woman came into the home is a straight up reach, in my opinion. But I'm open to be wrong.
Okay, definitely hearing you. Okay. Anyone else got an opinion on this? I mean, I personally, I didn't see any. I didn't feel any issues with him asking questions around that. If he said he only dated white women and only wanted white women, I would look at him as a normal individual. You only want white women? I am not phased, brother. Choose your white woman. Save the rest of us some issues. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, bro, like, continue. You know what I mean? The same way if someone black says I want someone black, I got no problem. Now, if he said he wanted a light skinned black woman, like somebody did yesterday on the on their thing, now I might have been looking at him sideways. You know what I'm saying, Chu? I don't know. I don't necessarily see that being an issue per se, and from what I've heard him say and what I've seen him move with. I'm not saying I'm closed off to it. I'm just saying I just didn't really see it. Do you know what I'm saying, Chu? And I don't really have any evidence for it to say that he was showing those kind of traits. Did he potentially maybe want more of a white woman? Probably, yeah, more than likely. I mean, shoot. You know what I mean? I can't lie to you. You put me on that wall, I promise you now, I hear a Beverly Hills white accent, I'm gonna be like, yeah, you gotta go. I don't care how much we got connections. I'm so sorry. The good Lord didn't tell me to put with a white woman. I know, So I'm going to choose specifically somebody. I want to hear vernacular that's black. Okay, I want to hear words that are black. I want to hear experiences that are black. So if I don't hear the experiences that are black, I'm gonna promise you and tell you, I'm gonna move you along, Katie. Okay, you sound beautiful, you sound great, but I'm gonna move you along. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Again, I'm open to a different perspective. I'm just saying I didn't really hear it. So does anyone else wants to add on that Garrett issue?
Yeah, I think that the issue too is they were having a tricky conversation that technically we're not supposed to be having in a Love Is Blind situation. And we see that with a couple of people like Hannah and Leo, and the thing with Nikki D. It's like these people, and that's why it always comes off cringy, because the whole purpose of going into Love Is Blind means you're supposed to have an open mind to what that person looks like, be it race, all of those things, right? Their body shape and all of that. So I think they were trying to navigate a very tricky question. I think the part that I saw of him coming off is because Taylor is very measured with her words, and you could hear that in how she speaks. She's very deliberate. So if we're on the other side, if I'm on the other side of a screen and I'm trying to ask you questions, but her measure and her control, which to a certain degree she's right to have, can come off as her trying to change, make the narrative. And she's already kind of hinting at not saying her mother's name. So that already puts her in an other category. So now you're leaving somebody to mystery, where the conversation probably should have just been clipped. And let's not even just talk about it for both of them. So I don't know enough. I haven't seen enough. I mean, I think we can, draw measures from what we've seen happen with other folks in the past. But I haven't seen enough from Garrett to pointedly say that. Some might, but I personally haven't.
I didn't get a chance to chime in. I don't know if I missed it because my abuela called, but I also do think that Taylor was trying to pass. I know someone said in the comments, but I think in many ways she was trying to pass too. And she didn't want her race to be a factor. And I think that she's carrying her own struggles and problems with that as well. And I think his kind of reaction to it kind of triggered it even more, because he didn't seem open to the idea whatsoever, which I do think is odd on a show called Love Is Blind. Like, I don't, kojo, like, if I wasn't married, I have never dated a white man. But if I go on Love is Blind, I think that's kind of the idea that I come away with, that may be a possibility. I mean, I just feel like it's just one of those things.
No, I definitely hear that. I can't do it, but I hear what you're saying. I'm gonna find you out. Okay, all right, yeah. You gonna talk, and I gonna know that you definitely are not black.
The point, y'all, hold on, y'all. The point of not saying her name, if her name is Ling, if her first name is Ling, for example, she cannot say her mother's name. That's gonna say her race.
That's
Now,
like
what
that's
she
like
should
Kwame
yeah, like
changing his name.
Kwame, like what she should
Yeah,
have
and we
did
saw the
was,
problem.
yeah, not mention names, period. Like the problem is she named her dad, her white dad, and then she wouldn't name her Asian mom. She shouldn't have spoke about names, period. Then she could have got away with it. But you can't say I like Mr. Krause, and my mother has a dope name, and then he'd be like, "Oh, what's your mom's name?" And it'd be like, "Can't tell you." Like that was the problem. She should have just like left it alone. But if she says my mama name is Ling, y'all, that's just like saying your mama name Letitia. What race is Letitia?
That's right. Let that name tell you out.
But why do we need to be talking about our parents' names and Love
That
is
was her.
Blind?
No, I'm saying I agree. She shouldn't have.
Yeah,
She shouldn't have. I agree with you, Sean.
yeah.
She should have
That's what
just.
I think. It's just kind of like, and that's what I think the whole contrived person is. Like, I don't meet somebody and getting to know them, and I'm like, oh, my mama's name is Ina. Like, what do we need to we don't need to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, and not that my mother's name is also a dead giveaway on her race, because it could be a lot of things. But I think, like, at the end of the day, it's not something you can talk about your mom without talking about her first name, which is where I think the contrived part comes about, because she kind of like dropped that in there. Like, you don't have to tell she didn't have to say her dad's name. She could talk about her father and the relationship they had. She could talk about her mom and how much they mean to her, and her parents, without going to the race aspect of it. So that's the part that kind of threw me off with her.
Part of her kind of wanted him to know when she said Krause, because to me, I don't know a single black person with the last name Krause. I think she threw that in there because she wanted him to know the white part, but then dangled the other part, and that's where she effed up at. She should have, because she could have said her mother's a firecracker and left it alone.
Agreed. And I think that, because this is why race, and I was saying it in the chat too, about even Monica, and I know we're probably not going to talk about them today, but you just see how race just like permeates our dialogue, and whether we want to have white proximity to feel like we're more wanted. And I think it's just a very difficult thing to say. I would want her to be like, you know what, whether he feels or thinks he knows I'm something other than white is okay. And if that disqualifies me, then that means we're not a match. And I think it's nuanced, because people want to be wanted, and that white proximity, white supremacy, it's everywhere. And it's something that we just kind of have to work on. And I think I saw a lot of different people, trying to be one thing or another, even with Monica and Steven. She's talking about she don't know what box to check. So that to me is wild.
Well, Trey had a good thing. He said, it looks like we're trying to put on Garrett what started with Taylor. Taylor wanted her white king. I think it was actually on both of them, Trey. I think actually both things occurred at the same time. She was trying to secure her white king, and he was trying to then make sure that he got his white queen. And then he panicked when he thought that he was getting Boquisha. That's what happened. I think all these things happened at the same time.
Seaway, I have to disagree. I think Taylor, she put it out there. Like Sean said, she shouldn't have said nothing at all. And then it made him curious, so he started asking questions. I think that her insecurities, or maybe she's had some bad dating experience being a mixed race person, and she kind of projected them on to Garrett. And I think what Garrett was doing when he started asking questions is what anybody would do. Well, what's your mama name? You saying your mama got something special about her, like what's your mom's name and stuff like that. I think she did it purposely, and it kind of backfired when he started asking more questions.
But Phil, we can't skip over his line that he made sure to throw in. He made sure to throw in, I have only dated white women. He's a very intentional person. Garrett didn't say that for no reason. That's why I said both things can be true at the same time. Even if you want to say she started it, Garrett made sure to make it clear that he's only dated white women.
Because she asked if it would be a problem if she wasn't white. Or am I making that up?
I don't think she said that. She didn't say that. I don't think so. I mean, y'all correct me, but I don't remember that one. Because if she would have asked the question, I don't think nobody would have, got mad.
Hey, all right, let's move it on. Good debate. I like that. You give a different perspective. We love to hear it. All right, cool. Well done. All right, listen. Let's move to the next one. Let's talk about. Let me see if she'll do. We've got Hannah and Nikki D. We got Marissa and Ramses. And who's the other third couple? I got Ashley and thingy. We'll leave them to last. Okay, let's talk about obviously Hannah and Nikki D situation. Okay, because boy, oh boy, I think that boy. Damn. Okay, brother. Let me play a little clip and you can go for it. No worries at all. I like the fact you're ready. Okay, I like the fact you're ready. Let's play a little bit of that clip and you can definitely go for it because we know. See, they had a conversation.
Just to come this far. You heard Kim K. Kim K's in that Drake song. I didn't come this far just to come this far. So, me either, man. Came this far to get married, and it makes me feel, shitty that I lost a person.
Alrighty, they actually told each other that they didn't think they were going to be good for each other. So if you haven't watched it, sorry. They in episode 11 said, we're going to call it a day. Well, technically, Hannah wanted to lead that conversation. She really wanted to reject him. But I want to get you guys' thoughts and ladies' thoughts on that. Talk to me, Phil. What was your perspective on this situation?
Whack, super whack. Hannah is the worst. She is whack. I told y'all from the start, Hannah is whack. So, we are not going to deny that this man is suffering from a verbally abusive relationship. Hannah is super whack. And Elle said, I told y'all, Kojo, I said it, whack, yo. What is wrong with her? Yo, Hannah thinks she's more than what she really is. In fact, I think the real issue why she don't like Nick is that she is jealous that he's able to still live with his parents and he benefits from generational wealth. I think she's a hater. I think she thinks that she's still Miss Homecoming Queen in West Virginia. Yo, that was awful. And her super whack friends. Oh, wait, let's back it up. Let's get to the party. When her best friend, this is my best friend. Yo, you don't even know this girl. And then you try to, it's a lot of transference on people. You felt insecure with her looks talking to your man and she was complimenting him. He wasn't complimenting her. She was doing the complimenting. Then you want to bring it home and tear him a new one and then say, oh, it's 1:30 in the morning. We should talk about this later. You started this conversation. She was in competition with him at the little obstacle course. She wanted to make sure she was taller than him at the engagement photos. And then when she brought up that he doesn't like to do oral sex, violation. She said he had sex like an 18-year-old. Violation. Yo. Justice for Nick D. I hope he's in these DC streets tonight. Meeting him somebody. Nick D, if you hear me, I hope you are on U Street tonight. It's popping. It's homecoming weekend for everybody. Screw Hannah. Justice for Nick. And once again, Hannah is whack.
I think Hannah is who people want Alex to be. But people don't get on her because she's not a black woman. And black people just leave Hannah alone. Hannah is unreal. Sorry, let me put my phone on do not disturb. People text me. Hannah is like Phil said, she's abusive, she's verbally abusive, and she projects everything that she got going on. Let me turn my camera for this. She's projecting everything that she got going on onto Nick. And the problem is that, I feel like people won't talk about the two things can be true at the same time. Yes, Nick is delayed a little bit. I don't really believe that Nick liked Hannah like he's saying that he does. I do think he's putting on a little bit for the cameras, to be honest. I mean, there's no way he can like Hannah after what we're seeing just on camera, let alone what's going on off camera. So I do want to be clear that I do think Nick is putting on, just to be fair. But Hannah's abusive. The way you treat people is only a reflection of you. And I think Hannah is starting to realize that in some of her interviews. It doesn't matter what Nick is doing. You can walk away if you want to, but sticking around and talking to someone like that, you shouldn't talk to an animal the way she talks to Nick. It's really just unfortunate. I don't even like to be a witness to it, to be honest. Like, you should never belittle another human being like that. And Hannah really needs to get in tune with her star player, because she keeps calling herself a truth teller. You're not a truth teller unless you're telling the truth about yourself too. The truth about yourself is the fact that everything you're saying about Nick is because he's stinging something in you. The love that he has, you feel like he doesn't deserve because you didn't receive. You keep calling him too skinny because your back is too big. You keep calling him too short because you don't like being tall. Everything, and you keep saying he needs to pay a bill because you're paying all of yours and you don't have a job. Whole time Nick is outside of his parents' house now, living and thriving, and I wonder if she got a job. She must, because she paid for that Ozempic. I'm just really just not a fan. And people like Hannah, once they get on that Ozempic, they get worse, because now they think because they skinny, they're more worthwhile. The ugly heart on the inside don't change nothing. If you don't change the inside, you're not going to be right. Because I knew Hannah was wrong ever since she got mad at the kicker for looking like a kicker because her back was big. I said, she is going to be a problem. She's not right. She's not right. And now she got me defending Nick. She can never make me hate Nick at this point. I don't care what Nick ain't eating, what he ain't doing, what he ain't paying for at this point. I'm El Cid to Nick at this point, okay? And I ain't never been on no man's. I am on Team Nick. I cannot stand Hannah. That's it.
Crazy. You know, sometimes I just love the way Seaway's able to say things I can never say. Okay. Who else wants to jump in for the Nikki D situation? It's funny that it's called Nikki D.
Well, listen, you know, I do agree with one thing that Seaway said 100%, and that is two things can be true. You know, and I'm gonna take unpopular opinion Phil's spot, and I'm gonna come up with a very unpopular opinion. Yeah, I feel like the things I've heard Hannah say about Nick aren't things that I haven't heard other women say about men in this very YouTube space. These aren't things that are so like jarring, that are new to us. And I feel like it's because of the package of how Hannah comes that we expect her to be something different. I'm not going to get political, but I'm going to use Kamala's words, her recent words, when she was on the Call Her Daddy podcast, and she was talking about someone wanting her to be humbled. And she said, there's a lot of women that don't want to be humbled. And I think Hannah is one of them. Again, I don't agree with her delivery, but I think her messaging is correct in some of the feedback that she had for Nick. Again, her delivery, the way she's coming at him, totally wrong. But at the end of the day, I feel like we want her to be humble because she looks bigger. We want her to be humble because some of us don't view her as traditionally attractive. We want her to be humble because she showed up looking a little bigger, right, than what we expect. And she wasn't humble. She came with her stuff. She knew a little bit about finances. She's lived on her own. She's gained some things. And because she had the nerve to come at Nick the way she came at him, I think, you know, we want to attack her physically. We want to attack her character. Again, her words, the way she chooses to use them, I have no issue with. But I just think she's getting a lot of heat because of how she shows up in the world. And I don't necessarily disagree with. From the beginning, I've called out Nick for a lot of the growing up that he needs to do, and him just looking like a man child. So that's my unpopular take on it.
Sean, let me tell you, I think you may have a point. I do believe that because she has a larger back, people do think that she should be a little nicer. I just want to be real because I feel like I want to live in society. I'm not saying what's right. I do think you have a point, but I do think it's not just that. I think that is a portion of it, but I think people don't like when anyone, whether you're pretty, because like people didn't like Zaynab or whatever, and she wasn't. It, if you have a lot for other people, but you have nothing for yourself, I think that is actually the bigger issue. Now, do you have a point, Sean? I'm not going to say you don't, because people have a very short string for things that look outside of the norm or what we want to see. I will say that. I do think you have a point. But her delivery is bad because she keeps wanting to be a truth teller for others, but she doesn't seem to be reflective on herself. And then everybody around her, not her family, but her friends, seem to be piling on. And Nick is like not doing anything back. And so now even a person like me feels like I have to defend a grown man. And I don't like to be in that position because nobody likes a bully, no matter you come in a big size or a small size. And it looks like on TV, because he's not fighting back, that she's beating up on him. So I get your point, Sean, but I don't think it really matters 100% what she looks like, because nobody's going to stand here and allow a man to be beat down on national TV. And that's what it looks like. To be honest, that's what it looks like. The man doesn't say anything back.
Could I step in as part of the plus size delegation? Okay. So I don't care what size Hannah is. She is a cruel human being with her words. And Sean, I could see what you're saying, but how did Nick exactly try to humble her? How has Nick fought back from her to humble her? Please let me know that, because I would get that thought from you if Nick was beating her down too. But she's just a cruel human being. She just wants to say what she wants to say and have no repercussions for how she's delivering. And this is someone you claim to love. I wouldn't even speak like that to my friends. I'm sorry. She is just a mean human being. And the ugliness on the inside is seeping out through her words. So I don't care what Hannah looks like. As we said, Zaynab and all of them. But I'm sorry. She is just being ugly to Nick in her attitude to him. So I'm like, I mean, she ain't no longer a part of the plus size delegation, but I'm not going to put that as she's supposed to be humbled. I'm definitely not humble. So tell me something else, Deacon.
I'm with El said. It has nothing to do with her weight. Hannah is just being mean and cruel because she doesn't have the guts to say, you're not what I thought you were going to be, and I want to end this relationship. She is being nasty. Just because you may be tall, short, heavy set, skinny, whatever, that does not give you the right to be disrespectful. And what she's being to Nick is disrespectful. It has nothing to do, for me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, when I call Hannah whack, I call Hannah whack because she's trying to purposely humiliate this man on national TV for sport. And I can't get with that because to me, I don't have a problem with Nick. Nick is who he is. And like El said, Nick has done nothing nasty or malicious this whole time he's been on the show. He's been pretty chill and decent. Just because he may be this little skinny kicker who may pumps himself up to be the next greatest sports superstar, that's his own delusions. It ain't hurting nobody. But Hannah is purposely trying to like hurt him because she just don't want to be a woman and say, you're not what I expected. You're not my type, and I don't want to be with you. Instead of keeping it 100, she's being nasty just for fun. Yo, that's not cool to me. But it has nothing to do with her weight. Nothing at all. I ain't mentioned her weight. Her personality is whack. Her conversation is whack. Her friends are whack. That leather jacket is whack. The dog is whack.
her cleaning the house all day, every day, on the weekend, and wasting all them paper towels and using all them chemical products is whack. Hannah is just whack. Giving up your job to come on Love is Blind is whack.
But you know what's also
Yeah.
whack is her thinking that Nick, if Nick looked like who she wanted him to look like, she wanted him to accept her and all her flaws. And she was doing all that in the pods. And when she gets out the pods and she thinks she has more on Nick than Nick has on her, she treats him like he's at the bottom of her shoe. I think that's also the reason why she gets a lot of flack, because she wanted someone to accept her fully for everything that she came with. And when she got a man that she didn't find to be up to her standards, she treated him like he was less than human.
Yeah, I think, I hear what you guys are saying, and I think that we're not as far apart as you may think. I'm not excusing Hannah's behavior, but what I am calling out is our reaction to her, and how strong it is. And at the end of the day, like I said, I've heard plenty of women, my own friends and family, talk about men in the same fashion, and it doesn't necessarily get the same kind of vim. And the other thing I want to say, lastly, is unconscious bias is not something we easily call out in ourselves, right? So I just want us to just kind of just take a beat before we just kind of say, no, it's not that, Sean. It's just like when white people are called out for being racist, their immediate reaction is to say, no, I'm not. Right? You don't immediately want to accept something that could be inherently a mistake that you're making in your judgment, or a challenge to the way that you look at the world. So I think, like, I get it. I might not be right, and I don't have to be right, but I also want us to leave room for the fact that you may say like, oh no, that's not me. I don't care about her weight, but our opinions are informed just not about what happens at the first place. It's also behind that lens and what forms it. Just like Black people play into white supremacy, right? Of course, it's against our own interest to fight for white supremacy, but because of the systems in place, we play into it sometimes. And I say by me too, we all do it. So I just think, like, we sometimes we just need to take a beat when we get information before we just immediately jump to an opinion, because there's a lot of different things that inform our opinions.
I think I'm just pushing back on Hannah in the same viciousness that she's showing Nick. So if you want to blame my vim for her and, coming off real strong, it's because Hannah was coming off real strong for Nick. So again, I have not seen where Nick has tried to humble her. So I understand your first point, but I don't see any evidence of him pushing back and humbling her, trying to put her in a place. And the only pushback too I would give for Nick, when he said he won't say no and embarrass her at the altar like that, I would have pushed back on that. Because Nick, that would have been dead wrong, because now you're going to force her to be the bad guy in that situation by saying no.
Else did. I think that he also pushed back by saying when that was, I don't know what the best friend's name was, but I think he got a kick out of the best friend telling him how attractive he was. He was eating that up, because ever since they were in the pods and they had that first reveal, she didn't even look back at the man. As soon as she saw he was short, she was out of there. She used that back y'all keep talking about to keep walking the other way. She didn't even look back. She never liked that man at all. She never liked him. But the way that it was set up, it's almost like, if I didn't know any better, that it's like they paid Hannah to do a failure to launch experiment on Nick, because he, like you said, he was delayed. He had a lot of things going on, and she was not wrong. Even that best friend, I think her name was Nicole, even relayed the exact same message to him, but it's the delivery that people don't like. And I do think there's a little bit of unconscious bias, because when you don't think somebody is conventionally attractive and they're coming at somebody telling them that they don't look good, then they're going to catch it. They're going to catch flames. If you come out there and you look technically, I guess, better to whoever it is, people are like, okay, he or she looks better than this person. They're wrong. They're mean, But how dare you come at me and you look like how you look? That's how people. Nobody wants to say it, but that's what they do. But yeah, she was very nasty to him. I did see the new and improved Hannah, improved according to her, and she said that she didn't take Ozempic because it made her sick. She took it for 3 weeks. She locked it all the regular way, but I got a kick out of Phil saying getting on Hannah for cleaning too much when y'all were dogging Alex for being in her dirty place. So I'm getting a kick out of this whole conversation.
Come on, V. Alex's apartment was disrespectful. She embarrassed herself and her mama. She should be ashamed of herself.
She did, but I just got a kick out of that. But yes, I too think that Hannah was nasty in her delivery. She wanted everybody to dogpile on Nick to tell him he wasn't good enough for her. And she was definitely, I think for a while I thought maybe Hannah might actually marry Nick. I did for a hot second because she was trying to fix him because he wasn't what she wanted. But then I know we don't like what she said about the bedroom, but I think she was a little bit frustrated about what happened there. She might have been a little bit, I'm not saying it because of the back situation, but she said she get hangry. She might have been her feelings and she just let it all out on this man. So, yeah, I don't think that they were ever a match, but I think they were at least both going to go to the altar. And Hannah might have said yes, and Nick wanted to say no, but he might have said yes, because I feel like he's also there for TV time, because nobody lets anybody beat up on them like that long and just take it. I felt like it was a screen time situation. So
there was definitely something fake there. V,
Yeah.
any of y'all on TikTok, y'all remember that lady with no neck?
Yeah.
That went viral for coming at Risa Tisa?
Yes.
That's what you just said reminded me of, because one thing, TikTok will let you know if you're ugly or not. And if you have a right to call, if you really want to be humble, make a video on TikTok calling somebody else ugly and see if you get away with it. That is how you know if you are ugly. So to your point, if you get on TikTok and you call somebody else ugly and all they do is call you mean or that was not nice, you get a slap on the wrist, okay, you're cute. But if you not and they start talking about your neck, yo this, yo that, that's how you know. So I do think, to Sean's point, I always leave room for colorism. I always leave room for I don't know what is the body
fat phobia.
And I leave room for racism. You have to leave room for that, because even though I feel like Hannah's activity was already going to put her at an 8 or 9 anyway, her not looking like the people who should be given that energy is going to boost you another one. I don't think it's the main point, but I'm always going to leave room for that, because I've seen it. I've seen what people get away with, and I've seen what people have not got away with. So
I disagree. Just because you're a part of a marginalized group does not give you liberty to act a fool like Hannah did. And I'm gonna remind y'all of 2 names that y'all have discussed on this channel that y'all have ripped apart for their bad behavior. Zadia the Body from Ready to Love DC, and the beautiful Morgan from Ready to Love Miami show bad behavior, and we all called them out on their behavior. It had nothing to do with their looks. Just because you're in a marginalized part of society or in this marginalized group or whatever we want to call it, it does not give you liberty to rain hell upon other people. And the way Hannah just spoke to that man, questioning his manhood, talking about something, I brought you from a boy to a effing man. Like, nah, she was out of line. And the whole looks thing, I do think some people will go off of looks. That's true. I definitely think it's true. But however, she showed the bad behavior. It's not like we're suspecting she's doing this. She showed it front and center on this show. So her looks, that's the least of her worries. She ain't gonna find love because of that nasty attitude.
But we're men giving Morgan a pass. I remember men giving Morgan a pass. And I remember girls give it. Look, I know I was up there giving Morgan a pass. I give all the baddies a pass.
No, you gave Morgan a pass because you didn't like Buddy with the high top fade, because you was on his neck that season. That's why Morgan got a pass, because you didn't like Buddy. That's the
Yeah,
only
we ain't like
reason.
Blake. I ain't like Blake.
Yeah, and I hear you, Phil. And I think because again, I think we're not diametrically opposed. And I think everybody wants me to say what everybody else is saying, and that's not what I'm saying. You know, I think I'm hearing alignment with Seaway and with V. I'm not saying Hannah's right, but I'm saying that we're going after her in a way because some of that is framed by the way she appears. I'm not saying it's the only reason, and I'm not saying her behavior is right. I am saying that I agree with some of the things she's saying. Maybe everybody hasn't gotten there. I do think Nick needs to grow up. I do think Nick is very immature. I do think Nick lacks the independent skills to be able to be an effective husband. I think that it is unacceptable to come into a marriage and expect to be in a household and you can't figure out how to boil water. Like, I think we need to up the level of what we expect from men. And I think that is a very below base level expectation for a wife to think that her husband should be able to boil water. I'm sorry, I do. And I also think that Nick is immature. I think that also, again, the sex conversation wrongly placed, right? She should not have exposed him like that. But that conversation is not unlike a lot of conversations women have about men, because as we all know, since the bulk of this audience is women, that women are not getting pleased out there overall. Not all women, but statistics show women aren't reaching their level of satisfaction. And that is because of people who show up in the world like Nick, who don't take the time to check in and consider what it takes to have their woman satisfied. So if you want to keep engendering, coddling, and helping men continue to do what we've been doing for the last ever, then you could keep signing off on it. So at the end of the day, we also have to challenge people to do better. So that's all I'm saying. Again, Hannah's delivery, I need to say it maybe like in 4K. Hannah's delivery is horrible. She is disrespectful. The things that she said to Nick are not nice. They're mean. They're mean-spirited. Some of it is built into projection of her own insecurities. But two things can be true because there are some facts to the things that she's saying. So I'm just trying to help out the majority of the ladies here, right? Because if y'all want us men to level up, you need to hold us accountable and also call out our bad behaviors. It doesn't mean that we have to demonize Hannah at the same token. We can call her behavior out for what it is. We don't have to demonize her, call her every other thing underneath the green sun, or yellow sun rather, because that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything but denigrate her when unnecessary. We don't need to do that to prove our points. That's where I'm coming from.
So my point would be with the whole aspect of it is that she should be having, in order for Nick to get better, she needs to have that conversation. All the women who've been with Nick before should have had that conversation with him. So if you don't tell him he got a C or D grade, he gonna keep on going through life thinking he doing something. So yes, Hannah, she shouldn't be having that conversation with Ashley. But then again, I would be scared of Hannah having that kind of conversation with Nick, because that is the only grace she's given him. Because I cannot imagine her having that conversation with him, telling him, you know what, it just wasn't it. It just wasn't it. But I'm sorry, all the other ladies before let Nick get to this point and he ain't learn or try to learn anything. Again. Hannah just, how can I say it? Her cruelty to Nick is where the ferocity is coming from. Not in that aspect, but you're on camera. Hannah, in all of her wit, and she is mature. She should have been mature enough to know that was not the place and time to have that conversation, even if she wanted to have it with Ashley. Cameras are around. So she's smart. I would think that was a calculated move to annihilate him on social media. And she knew they would use that footage.
And I'm glad, Sean, that we definitely want men to be better. And I'm glad that we're working on the misogyny of it all. But I think you're taking up for the wrong chick. I think if the roles were reversed and Hannah had been a young lady of privilege and Nick was saying that if she came into that relationship saying that, oh, I live with my parents and they take care of X, Y, and Z, and they clean up for me and they do X, Y, and Z for my dog, the same reaction would not be had for her. So, but I think my whole issue with Hannah and the reason why I'm a little amped about it is because you put out the energy you want to receive. And like El said, she knows what she's doing. I've never trusted Hannah from the start. I've always thought that she was here just to get exposure because she wants to be some kind of influencer or something like that. But I hear you, my brother. Same team, just opposite aisles.
No, listen, Sean, I no, I can't do it, but I can hold space for it. Like I said, I'm a hold space for everything these days. But I feel like you're doing the exact same thing that we accused Seaway of doing, kind of on, which is you're minimalizing. What she's doing is emotionally abusive, because as that conversation you're talking about, women do have that conversation with other women in private. You don't say it to your partner. Right, so some of the things that she has said in the vein and the tone that she said it in has been emotionally abusive. See, we should call it what it is, just like we said about with Tim. Call it what it is, and then you have to equate. Then you look at the situation differently. Now you got to look at it differently. The same way we looked at the Tim situation and said we got to look at it differently because he's been assaulted. I think we got to do the same thing here with Hannah. I definitely believe that what she's saying, there's parts of what she's saying is true, but it also reminds me a little bit of a couple of seasons ago, Married at First Sight with old boy, what's his name? Oliver Juan. You know I'm gonna mess up his name. Elijah Wan? Elijah's the one?
Elijah Wan. Come on now.
Elijah Muhammad. Okay, so obviously old boy, he was saying what he wanted to say, right? Which he felt it was his truth. But because of his tone, because of his energy, the way he was telling her, we were looking at him like, blood, you kind of come off a little bit abusive. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to hit her. You don't have to slap her. You don't even have to even get into her face and say it. But the way he was going railing on her, it became abusive. Hannah is abusive. Just because she doesn't say it in a very crazy tone, it comes off very abusive, right? In the way that she says certain things. Now, of course, her saying about he can't, cook or whatever, I'm not saying that necessarily on its own is what the abuse is. But I remember someone, Alush Joanne of Elijah Muhammad, also told us, listen, bro, the fact that Katrina can't cook, and he was hot on it, I don't want a woman, and we were on his neck by the way he was delivering the message. The delivering of the message is what it makes it actually a problem. And the fact that she consistently rails on him is what's becoming the problem. And like Seaway said it on, because the brother also is not talking back, this was making it look worse. So I definitely agree what you're saying about we can hold space for her truth, because he should know how to boil water according to our generation. He should be able to at least boil a little bit of pasta according to our generation. Yo, shoot. I mean, you a whole chef out here, Sean. I couldn't compare to you. You know what I'm saying to you? In fact, you shouldn't come cook my meals at this point. You know what I'm saying to you? But the reality of the situation, and I know you ain't, but the situation is... He said a no. But, the real situation for me personally, is that the way that she's going about it is what's making her emotionally abusive, and the contemptuous energy also that she's bringing to the table is also problematic for me. But I will hold space for the fact that some of the things that she has said is absolutely true. Him having trashed D is not emotionally abusive when she says it, but saying it in the public domain, saying about men are very sensitive, and then saying it in public, we're gonna look at that. Because if a man wants to say, listen, I don't want to embarrass my wife, but she got trash poussoir, we were looking at like, damn, that is crazy for you to say that in public and say it to your boy. And actually, Sean, your next words would be, now this is what the locker room conversation. This is what our culture is built upon. Locker room, your fancy terms. You know what I'm saying to you. You'd nicely break it down, because it would be locker room talk. It would be in that way where it leads to our culture. And so in the same vein and fashion, I would love for you to also see it that way with Hannah. That not to say that she shouldn't say what she said is true. It's the way she goes about it that ends up becoming emotionally abusive. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not disagreeing with you, actually. I'm also siding with you as well. I'm just adding a little caveat to the situation, which I can't afford. But yes,
I'm with you. I do agree that she is emotionally abusive. I don't want anyone to misconstrue that I'm saying, her behavior is correct or it's not abusive. It definitely is. Her delivery, it's horrible and it's hurtful. So I understand why people are triggered and why it can be hurtful to hear her say the things and treat Nick the way she does. So I don't want anyone to get the impression that I'm excusing her behavior or trying to make little of it, because that's not my intent.
Appreciate you, Sean. No worries. I'll up the financial increase for you. Don't worry, brother. Plant them seeds. All right, let's talk about Ramses, and let's talk also about Marissa, because listen, it was looking a bit rocky. You know what I mean? We saw episode 10. But then episode 11, Ramsey's having that cold, a little bit of, I don't want to say cold feet. I guess you can call it that. He's having second thoughts almost in a sense, but saying that, he's not. I don't know. They could get married. I'm not sure. In the end, they could get married. I'm not going to lie to you. But yeah, he looked like he was having cold feet at the situation. And they had several conversations, especially in episode 11. As well. So I want to know what did you guys think about the Marissa and Ramses situation now? Like, where do you guys now fall on this side? I'm sure we're gonna have different opinions. I think it's gonna be really good. Yes, Phil.
Once again, Marissa and Ramses whack. Has Ramses never been with a woman who suffers from a menstrual cycle? Has he never had a woman who's had a menstrual cycle before?
I guess not.
Because I don't want it not to be without no affection. And when Marissa used the thing, well, what about after I gave birth or something like that? Dog, are you dense? He can't be that dense. And I think the issue with Marissa and Ramses is Marissa is a pick-me. Marissa is not honest on who she really is. And so it's very confusing for Ramses. And I think Ramses is just slow. I want to know why him and his ex-wife didn't work. I don't think it has much to do with religion based upon his behavior and actions. Even when she said, I'm going to the bathroom, he followed her in the bathroom. No, let her go to the bathroom. She'll be back. It's only like 10 feet away. She coming back. I don't think Marissa was honest with who she really is and what she really wants. And I don't think Marissa really knows who she is and what she really wants. She has been in the Navy. She's in law school. She's an intelligent woman. But who she is and wants to be as a woman moving forward, I don't think she knows. And I think that's a part of their relationship issues. And his two dreads are just strange.
We just quiet.
Y'all
say after that.
You can go.
I want to go last or second to last.
Yes. I do not like that couple at all. Not only because they look like siblings, and yeah, he definitely looks like Turbo. But either way, I think that I skip past their parts as well a lot of times because their conversations don't seem to have any depth, and they're always talking in circles. I don't even know how they matched up to be compatible other than the physical. So it makes total sense now that the physical is not happening at his command, that he's having cold feet and second thoughts and all these things. And back to the TikTok streets, they said that there's a certain side of his family that doesn't speak to him and still follows the ex-wife. So there probably is more to that divorce than what he's actually saying. I feel like he is, I'm sorry, he's giving fake feminist, fake woke, fake everything, because when you actually listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth, he doesn't care anything about her autonomy, her space, her health, any of those things. And I think she chose him because he seemed fluid and he was the opposite of what she was used to. And she molds herself to whoever she's with. So she spent time with the military guys, the super conservative guys. So she said, okay, I don't like that. I'm going to try the other side. And it is not working out because the same type of issues that she had with the other gentleman, it's just the same. So I don't want to say a man is a man, but he's giving those tropes. So yeah, I don't think they're going to get married, especially like Phil said, have you never met a woman that had a cycle? Are you running red lights or you want something else? I don't know, but yeah, it's a no for me.
Who's next?
Ramses is giving me in this point of it, he's giving me the fearful avoidant behavior because it's kind of like, I want you to like me. Why don't you like me? Why are you changing? Why aren't you the way you were before? Why is this mellowing out? What's going on? And it's kind of like, when a kid is kind of like da, 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 in your ear and you're like, could I just have a moment of peace? Is probably what Marissa is like, stop trying to figure this out, go with the flow. The hard part is they're navigating a relationship. They're navigating a very new relationship. They only have a few weeks to decide. And I think he's feeling the pressure. But we've seen other couples that just didn't say yes on the day and continue to date. So for me, it's like all the added pressure. But he needs to figure it out. You are with this young lady. If you do want to have children with her, there's a 6-week pause. 6 weeks pause on intimacy after she has that baby. And that's just a physical pause. We're not talking about her psychological pause, if there's any postpartum after that. So he needs to be a little more secure within himself. Maybe he needs to brush up on his self-love because he seems to be looking for that love and affirmation outside of himself with her. I think she could be a little more vocal. She could kind of tell him, hey, this is not the time, but it needs to be translated in a way that he can hear and understand it, because I don't think he's hearing it. And because he's not hearing it is why I think she went silent. It's like, I told you, this is what's going on. I need my space. But he's not getting it. Just like he's not getting the, I'm not going on birth control, you got to wrap it up. So I don't think I think some of the things they do could work. They can work through this, but I don't think they should get married right away. They need more time to figure this out.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with everyone. I think unfortunately this is just another example that all of us men have work to do. Because even as he's proclaimed himself to be a new age modern man, he still has to unpack some issues and uncover and realize the impact of what he's saying. And I realized that when they had that condom conversation, that to me led me right to he is clueless and still has a lot of work to do. He wanted to give the impression that he was listening without completely objecting. But at the end of the day, his message was still the same. He doesn't want to wear condoms, despite putting the onus all on her and her being the one that would have to carry the child if they were to get pregnant, and then doubling down on not wanting to have children in the immediate future. So he's got a lot of work to do. And I think that carried on into this conversation about him using this window where she was feeling unwell as a baseline measurement for what the rest of their marriage would look like. And I think that's just an unfair expectation to put on her. And again, I'm not demonizing him and putting her on a pedestal, but I'm saying, like, just in the context of the scenario, he didn't realize what he was asking of her, right? You're at a pivotal point, and that's where I think it is, maybe under the surface manipulative. I don't know if he's trying to like back her into a corner, but the danger of what he's saying and how he's framing it is like, you're not being intimate with me now. You're not giving me physical touch. I do know why, because you're not just stonewalling me. You explained to me why, but now I'm concerned because is this what the rest of our marriage is going to look like? I think that's unfair. I think that's unfair. I think it's very selfish. And in a moment where he needed her empathy, I think he centered himself. And unfortunately, us men, we're really good at that way because society makes it very comfortable and convenient for us to do so. So I just think he has a lot of work to do, and decentering himself and leaning into not the whole relationship, but aspects of where he can give to her. Right. And understanding that sex and intimacy is something that should be mutually beneficial. It may be a need that you have, but when you enter into the act, it shouldn't be one-sided. So I just really cringed during that whole conversation. I see Marissa having some pause. I see her having some pause, but I think her desire to be wanted, her abandonment issues from her dad might push her right into the arms of somebody like him, thinking that he is safe when in actuality, I don't think he's that safe for her. So, my thoughts.
You know, Marissa's gonna have to stand up. I know we've been yelling at Ashley A to stand up through the screen. Marissa's that's fine. Okay. Marissa's gonna have to stand up, and she's gonna have to find herself, because if she doesn't, she's gonna keep just finding herself in the arms of lost, confused pretty boys, lost, confused MAGA conservatives. Whatever she keeps dabbling in is because she doesn't have a good center on herself. And I see her trying to fight back, but she just doesn't seem strong enough. I think what everyone is saying, and what what Phil said, is the fact that because she's lost, she is really struggling navigating this situation with another lost person and opposer. And this is the reason why, and I already know y'all gonna make a face, why women say they like the medium uglies is because when you see a man with two twigs in his head who look as good as Ramses, he's always going to center himself. He was going to center himself from the beginning. Do you think he don't know what he looked like? Do you think that he would be getting this far with all these demands if he didn't look like that? Ramses know what he doing. And honestly, I was very triggered. Sean already told you this. I was very triggered by that conversation he had with Marissa in the kitchen, because I feel bad for all women who have to explain why they're sick, explain why they're they're on their period, explain all these things with a man that really doesn't care about them for real. That was a very triggering conversation, and I'm doing my best in this moment not to project. But I feel really bad for women who have to deal with that, because that was really unfortunate, because a man is supposed to really be there for you. Your man is supposed to be there for you. And I think in that moment, he really kind of showed his true intentions. I do not believe they're getting married. I don't think Marissa's going to say yes, and I don't think Ramses is going to say yes. He has too many apprehensions. He's concerned. He doesn't want to be a divorcee times two. He doesn't want to. He has too many concerns. He's not convinced. And deep down, Marissa's not convinced either. So I don't think it's going to work. They both need to go apart and find themselves for sure. So
Yeah, some good points.
y'all saying that, and that's y'all opinion. But there's
Some good
plenty of
points.
people who think he is, and that's the reason why he acts that way.
I mean, listen, I think there's some great points. I think, without going too deep, I think there's some faults on both sides. I think we don't get to see everything, but I think definitely Ramsey needs to take accountability. Because, like I said, I can't erase the condom conversation. It's still in my head that how wild it was that he didn't understand the simple logic of what that would mean. And his pleasure was more important than that situation. So for me personally, I've not moved past that point. But I do again want to, I guess, bring some balance in that situation. I did break down that video a bit more. I think it goes beyond just PMSing. I think there is other aspects to that, and I think we're also narrowing it because he actually gave an expansion of what he actually said. He didn't say PMS. He said there were 3 other occasions where he's been rejected. And when we narrow it to just being about the PMS, then we narrow him. Now, I do take into account the fact that because of that condom conversation, we are gonna see him differently about sex when it comes to sex. And I think that is an important part, not to dismiss or to throw aside. Because I think myself and El Cid mentioned this about the dark arts that he produced at the very beginning when it was Bodan and him, right? He was thinking he was superior than Bodan. So he's always been this. He's always had some air of superiority about himself in the way he thinks of himself in some aspect that he thought himself to be better because at the very beginning he did that. I think also though that there is I think also the fact is that we got two people triggering each other, but because of his comment about the condom, it's overshadowing the fact that both of them are triggering each other, and there's control on both sides, right? We've got there's control on both sides in terms of, but it's presented very differently, and that's why when I presented that video and I broke it all the way down, I said, people might not see it because they will only look at Ramses because he's obvious. It's quite big and glaring in your face. It's like neon lights at somebody's control, or at least somebody's way of kind of manipulating the situation. It's very obvious. But the reality of the situation is Marissa is actually an equal opponent. She is not it's not a victim situation. They are equal opponents. One knows how to be under the radar when their manipulation plays a role, or at least their control. Let me say that more. Maybe a better word is to say control. And so we see both parties, right? And I know Phil mentioned about the toilet situation, and I mentioned about how that is actually him because he knows he has to give her space because she said give him space. So again, I say I understand both sides of the table coming to it. Like I said, I just can't get rid of the condom. I really can't. I keep going back to it because it was so freaking wild. The fact that he couldn't understand that, for me, it's nothing to do with feminism or anything like that. It was just a level of selfishness that actually has no, unless there was more to that conversation, and I want to give him grace and say maybe there was more to that conversation, and maybe something was edited out. If nothing was edited out, that is the wildest conversation I've ever heard from any man, and it's very selfish. Because it's like, you should be able to have sex with your partner and go, look, I don't want children, you don't want children, I'm ready to wrap up. Why would I want your body changing because of drugs? You know what I'm saying to you? So for me, that's what I would say. I would say there's a bit of both from both levels as well. And again, someone said a good point, which is that she's in law school, she's commuting 2 hours each day, filming, planning a wedding, and so she's exhausted. Now imagine a man tells you around and says the same thing to you. And says to you, look, I'm working hard, I'm paying the bills, I'm doing this, I'm exhausted, I don't have sex for the next few weeks. You'd question it. So it's not to say that she's wrong, it's to say that I can also understand why rejection would feel some type of way, which is why I hold a good balance between the both of them, right? We talk about how she may have had an issue with that and struggled, and I get that, I'm saying to you, but I can also see how someone can feel rejected from those particular behaviors. So it's just, for me, it's a bit of a balance. But again, they're different points of view, and I love that as well, you know. Someone said that's why Alex was taking a nap. Well, people don't want to give her grace for the nap because apparently she doesn't get the grace. So you know, go for it.
Hey, I would push back a little bit on that, Kojo, only to say, like, and this is where I think it's beyond the condom conversation. It's entitlement, and it's generally like something that men struggle with when it comes with women, especially that they're in relationships with. And to me, I just saw a nuance of it, of him thinking that if she told him that she didn't feel like being touched, for him, in his mind, he computes that as rejection because that's entitlement. Him thinking that she doesn't have a right to not want to be touched, and it having nothing to do with him. I think that's something he has to unpack, because that is a dangerous scenario when you create in your mind. Every time your woman may say, hey, listen, I'm not in the mood, you personalize it because you feel entitled to her touch. You feel entitled to her body. It is hers. And listen, this is a lot of stuff that we got to learn as men, because this is where consent comes into line, and the line gets crossed very easily because we as men think, hey, I'm with you. I'm your husband. I'm your boyfriend. Why shouldn't you want to be touched by me? I make you feel good. But forgetting that she just may not want to be touched in that moment for whatever reason. It doesn't have to do anything from you. And that's where the decentering comes in, where we as men have a lot of work to do to decenter ourselves, to not make everything that women do about us. Because it's not. It's hard because, hey, listen, I want my woman to want me and be thinking about me in all ways. But she has a life, you know, so that's hard. It's a hard thing to do. And I'm not thinking it makes him the worst person in the world, but he has to pay attention to that. And then coupling that with saying, like, hey, so now you're backing her up against the wall, saying, if the rest of our life is going to be like this, then, you know, that gives me pause for question. Now you're playing with her idea of her bodily autonomy, because now every time she's not in the mood for whatever reason, she has to think about, oh, is he going to interpret this? Is he not going to want me? Is he not going to want to be with me? Which then fast forward to her now acquiescing to him. And you saw how she was getting all cuddly and all of that stuff again with him to try to make him feel good, and now make him feel good about his own insecurities. which have nothing to do with her. So I just think that's where the dangerous part is, and we have to call that out so men can just kind of be able to say, "Ooh, let me back up," let me back up and kind of like realize what I'm doing.
I love that, but you pointing that point. I'm gonna also push back as well. He discussed that with her, how he felt though. I think we have to hold space for men too. Also, when they feel a type of way about a situation. If I say for instance, when he said obviously I felt, and he should have explained it to the furthest core because he didn't go all the way right in terms of what he felt. If I say, for instance, I come to cuddle you, and you say I'm not in the mood to cuddle, and I feel a little bit rejected. Right, you're right. There's a part of entitlement in that space, but also I felt rejected in that moment. See, I wouldn't see if a woman comes to me and says I wants to hug me, and I go, I'm not in the mood to hug, and then we go. The first thing we're gonna say is it's because she felt entitled to your body. That's why she's doing that. I wouldn't say that. I'll say she felt rejected in that moment and should feel some type of way, and I understand. So I said I'm saying that in a sense of I do understand that when we take the condom conversation and add it to this, I can see the perspective, and that's why I keep mentioning the condom situation, because I can understand the perspective in that way, right? But I'm saying that he mentioned examples. He said what I got in Cabo, I've got something different now. So if we are being very, very honest, if somebody's energy shifts, it's not about entitlement always. Sometimes it's a rejection. If you start questioning what has happened, have I done something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something different? Maybe I'm doing something that's not working here. Let me know. So that's why I don't want to run straight to the entitlement, because what that does is it alienates the other party straight away and says your feelings don't matter anymore. And if you do that, the relationship won't last long, because that person also has feelings. So they both need to validate each other's feelings. If my wife, by the grace of God, I have a wife, but if my wife comes to me in the bed and starts trying to touch me at night, and I'm like, I just want to sleep, man. I had a hard day's work, man. Cool. But if I do that 3 nights in a row, and then she says, well, actually, you've not touched me for 3 nights. I feel like you don't even want me no more. You're being entitled. What's wrong with you? You're being entitled. You know what I'm saying? It's my body, right? We would never say that. We would say, well, we can understand why she feels that way, because you've rejected her for the last 3 nights. Why would we say that? Because we understand. So what I'm saying is, before we run to the entitlement, I'm not saying it can't be that, by the way. I want to say, to be fair, especially with the condom conversation, I want to mention that again. I can understand that, but I also can understand the other aspect as well. And in that conversation, can I be honest with you? It's probably one of the best conversations I've seen from a man address an issue. He did not try to run her into the ground. He did not try to force her into a perspective. He was actually trying to have a conversation. And that's one of the hardest conversations to technically have. And we're still throwing the book at him going, he's entitled. When he said, listen, can I be honest with you? If now you have a situation, Sean, where you're not married, and your wife was giving it to you every single night, back to back to back to back to back to back, and then you get home and suddenly she's like, don't touch me. Are you not going to have a question in your head like, wait, is something not quite right here? Maybe something's not quite right here. And would you not start thinking in your brain, maybe I need to think about this. Maybe I'm not in the right space or the right place to be. And also, he has his own fears. We're not even giving him space to have his own fears. We are running to entitlement without giving him space to be like, maybe he also has fears at the same time. Maybe he's also feeling like, whoa, actually, at the same time, that you're having your thing, I'm also having my thing. So this is where we have to hold space for both of them to be able to say, these are my needs, and not crucify any person or judge them when they're saying what their needs are. Now, she let him know, she said about the PMS, but he said it wasn't about the PMS. It was about the 3 other situations that when I tried to do something with you, you rejected me. And now I'm starting to feel rejected. So that's all I'm pushing back. I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way, Sean. I'm saying that I'm pushing back on that again, just to kind of level it. So that's a real conversation now. I already hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
I want to.
1 second, Phil.
Okay.
So I do understand what you're saying, but I just where my pushback comes in is from, and this is why I use certain words about decentering, because that's what happens. You have to take yourself out of the equation, especially when it's not about communication, but he wants access to her body. So he wants access to her as a vehicle to make himself feel better. And then he is upset or internalizing it that she is saying no in that moment, right? So that's where he has to then step out of himself and stop. There's a point, especially you're in a marriage, you have to put your spouse's feelings first in a lot of different instances. And I think he's missing the mark because he's feeling like, oh, if I want to touch her, she should be open to it, right? Despite what's going on, whether it's PMS, she also, from what I understand, I see the chat talking about she might have an autoimmune issue. So all those things are at play. And remember, when he expressed to her too in that conversation, and this is what I picked up on, is he was like, well, it happened a few other times. She said, yeah, because I see that as petting, right? So that means she didn't like the way it felt. He wanted it, but it didn't feel good to her. But he's still asserting his dominance. And I get it. We want to have parity amongst the sexes, but men and women are very different, right? So patriarchy benefits men. So yeah, men, we're going to have to bite the bullet on some things and bite the bullet on our feelings to get more parity and to allow our women to come up to the privilege that we have as men. So that's going to mean some self-sacrifice. And the reason I'm a little harder on Ramses is because he has put himself on the forefront as somebody that has a modern way of thinking, a modern way of doing things. He's against toxic masculinity. So if he's truly that way and done that work, his approach to her in these situations are going to be different. So that's why I'm putting a little bit more weight on expecting him to show up differently than what we would expect a different guy, So.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go for it, Phil.
Oh, I just wanted to push back on you, Kojo. I kind of agree with Sean. I think Ramses is a good communicator, but the other part of being a good communicator is also being a good listener. And he's not listening to what she's actually saying to him. And they've only been together for 2 weeks. So if we're going to keep it real, let's keep it all the way real. We're on vacation in Mexico. Vacation sex versus at-home sex is 2 different sex. I'm giving you the show on vacation every day, all day, because we party and having a good time. But once we get back to real life, and when she mentioned, because I live in the DC area, the 2-hour commute, that's a lot on a person. And me not wanting to be affectionate with you a couple of times doesn't mean like I don't like you. I think he's taking it to the extreme because he's only thinking about himself and his needs, and he's not really listening to Marissa and what she's saying.
I also wanted to add that just a different angle. I'm not saying that Marissa did this, but since we're on the discussion, and I know Phil mentioned that she has some pick-me characteristics. Sometimes as women, we got to be real careful that we don't even feed into the having sex just to please a man or having it sacrificial, because a lot of times when you do that, they start to lean into that sense of entitlement, and then you start setting a pattern or you start setting yourself up for something that you can't continue. And I think I can't say it 100% because I don't know I know she's very attracted to him, but she really gives that she was going above and beyond at some points to try to please him or to try to keep up with him. And I think Marissa, in a lot of aspects of her life, is doing stuff that maybe she ain't got the bandwidth to continue. And so that's not to say that, I agree with Kojo. I hear Kojo. I'm not saying I agree 100%. Even though I do think, you should always hold space for people's feelings. But I think he's been centered. Like, let me just be clear. Ramses has been centered by women his entire life. It feels. It seems like people around him have allowed him to be centered his entire life. So I really wasn't surprised that he had that conversation, because I think he's used to getting what he wants at all times. And that's why Sean was saying what he was saying, is like, men at some point need to understand that if you're actually trying to marry somebody and you're trying to have a wife, you as a man, you can't be putting yourself first all the time. You need to think about your partner. But I fear that Ramses is not used to that dynamic. And unfortunately, Marissa was trying to keep up with something that she probably can't keep up with. And then here we go. So that's what I think.
Listen, I definitely hear you. I think we're agreeing more than we are disagreeing, I guess, a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm just saying let's hold space, because it doesn't sound like we're holding space. What we're doing is like he has to understand, and she has to understand too. That's the whole point of a relationship. We have to both understand each other, and we come to a negotiation, or we come to we come to a negotiation. We negotiate at the table to say, hey, maybe we need to relook at this, right? You want sex 7 days a week. I can't keep up. I can't lie to you. I got 5 days in me, 4 days in me. It's a negotiation, because that conversation was actually that conversation for me personally, maybe I have to watch it again, was actually quite a mature conversation. He did not force it on her. He did not try to say, you have to have sex with me. He didn't say any of those kind of things. He was saying, listen, in the reality of the situation, what I'm seeing is that something shifted and changed. And now I'm starting to feel rejected. Now, he didn't say all the rejecting part, because she actually had to ask him. And he kind of was like, yeah, I am. Because he wasn't fully being honest about how he actually felt. Which is why I saw two people in that conversation not being honest. Right? Because if you started off at 100 miles per hour and you drop to 50, people are going to ask a question. If I come at a certain level and I'm always doing this for you all the time and I drop it, you telling me you're going to ask me a question, be like, what's going on? Is something different? Has something changed? It's natural people are going to ask that question. Now, if he had been forcing it like the condom conversation, I would have rocked with y'all. I can't lie to you. I really would have rocked with you guys. You know what I'm saying to you? But I'm just saying to you, I hope we hold the same energy. If a man goes, well, I was working hard, I was busy, and wifey, I'm sorry, sex is not on my mind. I want to go to bed. And when she says, well, I wanted sex with you. Hey. You have to understand, when I'm working hard, sex is not on my mind. I'm only thinking about money and making money. We would still have the same conversation, but like, that man needs to take care of his wife. He should not leave her starved like that. He should not. And it's like, that's not how it should be. It should be it should be able to hold space on both sides. That is a very difficult conversation when it comes to sex and intimacy. And when somebody wants intimacy, how do we have a conversation? Does it mean you're entitled? No, I want intimacy. So I'm going to ask for more intimacy. It's not entitled to ask for more. If you're talking to me and I feel like you're not talking enough to me, and I say I want more of your conversation, and I feel rejected because you're not talking to me as much, am I being entitled? No. I'm saying I want more. There is nothing wrong with asking for more. You now got to tell me, hey, I can't do more. There's nothing entitled about that. If we put people in relationships and say you're entitled when you do that, then nobody actually really grows. There's going to be times where it's going to be ebbs and flows. So right now, she can just say to him, listen, I can't lie to you. 2-hour commute. I'm PMSing and da-da-da. I know you want more sex, and I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? The sex is amazing, it's great. But right now, I'm just not in that space for it. I need to be able to shift. Because he was also feeling scared. That is a key point that I think none of you have picked up. Nobody has seen that point. Nobody has seen the point that he was scared. We're just going, he's entitled. And this is actually one of the reasons why when men are coming into coaching and therapy, they run away. Because we don't hold space for both parties. We go, it's only her that has to, only her that's, we can see her point of view. But the guy was scared. This is why he's in the position he is. Yes.
Kojo, I actually love that you said that, because I picked up on his fear. But can I take it one step further? I think Ramses was scared, and somebody said in here he's fearful, avoidant. I can't remember. He is afraid, but he's one of those people who's afraid because he really wants you to want him, but he still don't want her, Kojo. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to know that you locked in, but he's not locked in. I did sense what you're saying, because when she was pulling away, that's why he didn't let her go to the bathroom. It wasn't necessarily because he was trying to control her like in a devious way. It was more so like he needed the reassurance so bad. But the whole time I'm looking at it, I'm like, this man wants to know so bad that Marissa is locked in. He's so afraid that she's not locked in. But the crazy part is, I know for a fact he's saying no at that altar. So I don't know how to reconcile that. I mean, maybe you do, Kojo, but it's crazy to me. Because I did see the fear, but I don't think that translates into him wanting her, though, or him willing to open himself up enough, I should say, for the risk to be with her.
Yeah, I think it's, and I think that's why I keep going back to decentering, because that means you separate your needs in this moment. And I think he did tell her what he wanted, and she said no. So my objection is not with him asking. My objection is with him not accepting her answer with detail. She explained everything.
Where did he not accept? Sorry, just to say that. I'm not going to interrupt you. Go for it. What did he not accept?
Because he said, this is what makes me think, is this what our marriage is going to be like? And then
so how's that not accepting?
because he's saying, like, she told him how she felt. She said, hey, listen, not now, fill in the blanks for whatever reason it was. And then he said, well, now I'm just getting I'm having doubts. I'm having questions because I don't know if the rest of our marriage is going to look like this. So for me, in that moment, hearing that is him centering his needs around the sexual intimacy that he needs from her and expecting her to do exactly what she did all the time. And that to me is where it's like you can't put that expectation on somebody, because at the end of the day, your needs, your desires for sex are going to ebb and flow. So what I heard is he wanted that honeymoon experience to play out throughout the rest of their interactions together. And that's not how intimacy works. You can't put somebody in a box like that and expect them to perform, because that's what you need for your needs to feel secure. So I think he was missing that point, in my opinion.
But you see, I think it's quite interesting because we're saying that he didn't actually accept her point, but he did accept her point. The whole point is that he gave his point. You see, again, and this is why I'm saying I'm being very careful, right? Because I will do the same thing as a woman. To state what you want is not invalidating how you feel or what you want, right? If I state how I want something and you state what you want, we are now at a loggerhead. We now need to negotiate. There is nothing wrong with that. There are going to be times, like you said, ebbs and flows. I don't have to understand that at the immediate moment because my needs are, this is what my needs are. When I come to the table, I present them. And then you present what you want on the table. Then we might need to negotiate. But what you're saying is just accept it. And that is not what we need to be doing. I don't need to just accept it. I need to have a conversation first and foremost. I need to get my point of view across over, and then we can see if we can negotiate. Because it may be a case of maybe I'm doing something that can actually encourage you to want to have sex more. It may be a case of something that I'm doing that's turning you off a little bit. That is why the negotiation at the table happens. If you penalize the person for even asking, they're not going to ask again. And what ends up happening is a person going to emotionally drift from the relationship. So whether we think like he wants to commit or not commit, I would say that we can say that too. I don't really mind which side you fall on. But the reality of the situation is, in a conversation with your partner, you are going to negotiate when you have two different ideas on something. You're not just going to cave in. The moment you start saying, I'm just going to cave in, it's the moment you're going to have more trouble. Because we're actually saying the exact same thing about Marissa, that she just caved in. Well, that's the trouble, isn't it? So she needs to come to the table and actually say what she wants and say, listen, this is what I really want. Like, and him saying, oh, I am scared. Because I'm thinking to myself, is this going to be the kind of marriage I'm going to be in? Yes. The same way if a woman was to say to you, if you're not paying no bills, is this the kind of marriage I want to be in? I wonder. Is she now trying to manipulate him? No. She's telling her fear of what the situation is. And what it requires is further discussion to unearth more. Why do you have that fear? Which she actually did a really good thing. Marissa did a really good thing. She asked him, do you feel rejected? And this is where he could have done a little bit better. He kind of said yes, but he didn't go all the way in. And that's where he should have been like, yes, I do feel rejected. When I've tried to touch you 3 times, and I know we keep saying it's only 3 times. I love that you guys keep saying it's only 3 times, but you all know how you feel if your partner rejected you 3 times. So stop pretending. I really think it's just nonsense when we do that. It's nonsense. You know how you feel if your partner, if you came up to your partner on 3 separate occasions, tried to touch them, and they rejected you. You'd want to know what happened. So all it is about is having further discussion. It is not about warfare. It's about more discussion to unearth more of the latent needs. What's really behind that? Ramses, why are you so intent on the sex situation? Is there more to that situation? Because I'm going to be honest with you right now, I'm just not in that space. So is there more to it so I can understand where you're coming from? There is nothing wrong with him saying he has a fear behind the fact that the marriage could be sexless. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think we are demonizing him when we do that. When people are saying what their actual needs are, when they're not saying you can't have your needs. Now the condom situation, we are in the same league. That was diabolical. Okay, we are in the same league, diabolical. But in this conversation, I wouldn't say that. I don't know if Elsa wants to add before anyone else jumps in again.
Yeah, I wanted to say that the conversation is what has changed. And I don't think he was villainizing her about it. It's kind of like trying to understand. I need to be able to navigate in our relationship. So, okay, if it's, that time, then I know how to navigate that. But as he said, there were other occasions where his touch was not acceptable. And the one thing we know, and we would like men to do, is ask why their touch is not acceptable. Because the thing is, to just say, I don't want you to touch me, doesn't help navigate the situation. So he's trying to understand so he doesn't either trigger her or he's trying to kind of push her in a direction she does not want to do. Now, his love language, I'm thinking, because she said it's overstimulating, he's always touching her. He always has like his hand or touching her finger. He seems to be someone who needs the physical grounding. So she said it's overstimulating. So now you're telling me I can't even touch your hand. So now that's telling me a further rejection. How far do you want me to be away from you? How far do you want us to be separated by the touch? That's what I got from Ramses. It's like, I need to know so that I'm not inadvertently hurting you by giving you too much touch or too much overstimulation. And it's a conversation you need to have, because as Phil said, the vacation stuff, we going off. Honeymoon stage, we going off. At some point, we going to cool off and the pot needs to stop boiling. And we need to know how to handle it when it's cooling down. Now, is it cooling down to stop, or is it cooling down because we no longer into each other? So that's where I got Ramses. I need to understand what your needs are so that also my needs could either be fulfilled or I could put them on a shelf.
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not going to say that he needs to be villainized for his stance or his needs. I'm not going to speak to all women because I can't do that. But I think most grown women who have hormones, who are tired, a lot of times we could tend to be more tired, who we have just a lot of needs outside of that. Really, just Ramses is not going to work for most women. And I just think and maybe that's what Sean is also speaking to about the decentering. If those are his needs, then I just think that most women need to be honest that when we're really looking for husbands, we're looking for husbands that, yes, can voice their concerns, but that at the end of the day, your health, your stability, the needs of the wife is first and foremost. I mean, I just think that's what women look for. They don't look for men like Ramses. I mean, I'm just being honest. And I understand that he should be able to express his needs, and he has his love languages, and he has the things that he needs. But women go through so much. We really do. We go through a whole lot. And I think that conversation was really triggering, I know, for me, because I just think about so many things in life that we go through that just makes us not feel up to doing it. Sometimes we don't even feel attached to our bodies. I mean, there's just a list of things that can go on. And I think it's very daunting to have a man who, when you tell him that, that's kind of what he says. Again, I'm not saying that he doesn't have that right. I'm just saying, like, that is really, oh my gosh, I'm gonna ignore the comments. Because I just think so many men, if they knew what women go through, they just wouldn't say the things that they say, to be honest. But I just think that is it's just kind of hard to hear. And so, yeah, like KS said in the chat, the drive's got to match. And that's why I said earlier, for Marissa, right? Do your best not to set yourself up for maybe something that you can't maintain. And I think there are women that will match with Ramses, I'm sure. But I would say the majority of the women need to take time off from time to time. They may take a week off. They may take days off, depending on what you're going through. And you really need to find a man that's understanding of that and can adapt to that. And that's not all men. That's not all men. And maybe that's not him. So.
And that's why conversation is important. Right? Why you expect me to understand it and we're not having that conversation and digging deeper? Right? This is the whole point of conversation needs to end up happening. And that's why I said the conversation won't happen, because what we're saying is, and you kind of said it, Seaway, you just need to understand how I feel. No, it doesn't work like that. We both need to understand how we feel. It does not mean that my action is going to be what we're going to take on board, which is why I don't understand how we're missing each other. They both need to hear each other. Needs, okay, doesn't mean that we're going to have to do my needs. Just him saying how he feels does not mean that you have to take his action on board. It means this is how I feel. And if we can't have a safe space where both people can say how they feel, you are going to lose that person, man or woman, right? She needs a safe space to be able to say, listen, I'm PMSing right now, and I can't lie to you. I know the last few days, whatever, the sex has not been on. I need you to understand that. And then he has to come round to that thinking and come to that place and try to understand it. And she also needs to understand too that when you are rejecting somebody a couple of times in between that space, which is not just that moment, in other sessions, that person may feel some sense of rejection. And then we start working together. How can we make sure that both of us are not feeling this type of way? Because we're talking about a woman needs to understand, a man needs to understand. I'm saying to you, they both got holes in their heart. They're both wounded. This is the whole point. So if we only say one person's thing is valid, right? How do we get to that place? Or because obviously in the comment section is he just needs to understand. Well,
but that's
why
not
would
what
you
I
expect
said,
him to?
Kojo.
I'm not saying you did.
You.
I said the comments in the comment
Okay.
section. I said specifically, but I'm saying that specifically.
Not you talking to me like Tim.
You know what? Listen, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, I think
Give me the soft voice talking to me like Tim. Ooh,
I'm passionate.
Let me shut up before you say you never want to
Let
speak.
me mute myself too. See where when you sit on the bench, I need to sit on the bench. Let me mute myself too. Let Sean jump.
Yeah,
Let me mute myself.
Unfortunately, I disagree with you, Kojo, on that. I think on this one, he has to sit this one out. And that's what decentering yourself means. It's not easy, but it means take yourself out of the equation and elevate your woman, because in this instance, men and women are very different. Men and women's, the fact that women get sexually assaulted at a 20,000 times higher rate than men do, right? Not to say it doesn't happen to men. Yes, it does, but it happens disproportionately higher for women. And a lot of that is the way women are looked at from a sexual aspect. So what I'm calling out on Ramses to do is to decenter himself, take away his idea of the need to touch her when she doesn't want it. And I've seen her explain several times why, and he's still pushing back and not leaning into empathy, which is what he needs to do when she's given him explanations, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis, which, by the way, can make touch painful. Okay, so yeah, her pleasure could be giving him, his pleasure could be giving her immense pain. PMS, she could be having cramps and a lot of pain, and even the slight touch can make her nauseous. So he needs to decenter, turn that part off for his wife. Now, if this is a sneaky link, you can stress her out all you want to, and then it's up to her to tell you, listen, this is not what I want. Hey, I'm not saying that's right either, but it's a different dynamic. But when you are married, the idea of a marriage is to be in service to the other person. So there are moments in time where your needs, the things that you want, are going to be sacrificed for the greater good of hers. And I think in this instance, he's got to turn on his husband hat, his woke hat, all these things that he is proclaimed to be and want to be, and say, hey, listen, is maybe what I'm doing asserting myself, my dominance onto her in a way that can be uncomfortable? Is what I'm asking of her maybe not reasonable? If she's told me she feels like I'm petting her, maybe that's triggering her. When does he hear her words and say, hey, let me stop and stop thinking about my needs, because I want something from her at the end of the day? It's not like he's saying, I want to talk about, chores. He wants to physically have possession over her body. So you need to also be listening to her about how that feels, what her objections are, and be open to doing it a different way. And I think he's not doing that right now. And he's shown us several times in several different ways how he's not doing that. So that's where I'm calling him out to just stop, take a step back, take your man hat off about wanting to have possession of her body, wanting to touch her, wanting to be in her physical presence, and say, hey, what's Marissa feeling? Maybe she doesn't want to touch me right now. I know we've had great sex in the past. Maybe we just need a break. Maybe her body needs a break.
But
do you know what you're doing? You're assuming. No, wait. Sean is see what Sean's doing?
Right.
He's assuming. That's the whole point of why I'm saying you're missing it. You are assuming. And I'm saying to you that the step needs to have conversation. That's all I'm saying. The only difference I'm saying is have a conversation. What you've done is assume. And you've projected what you assumed onto her. But you need to have a conversation. Regardless of whether you may be right or not, there still needs to be a conversation. Which is why I'm saying to you, listen, because everyone's putting their point of view. She's PMSing, she's this. And I'm saying to you, okay, I hear it. But they still need to have a conversation. And so you're witnessing a conversation between two people. But you're uncomfortable about it. But the whole point is that they need to have the conversation. Right? They need to communicate. right? Whether she likes the issue or not, they still need to communicate. By assuming you are going to make an ass of both you and them, and that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm
What is the
saying.
assumption?
But
I
they
just wanna know
did
what they
have the
Hold on.
But it did.
Hold on,
conversation.
hold on. Okay.
I've been trying to speak to this one point that Kojo's been making. I don't have a problem with the conversation. I think where we're missing each other is that him and basically saying, "Hey, is there something wrong? We haven't been together in a couple of days. You're rejecting me." That question is fine. Nothing wrong there. Green light. She responds, "Hey, I've had XYZ and a cat of dogs and 3 biscuits," right? Green light there. I think where you start to get the red light is his response after that. Then he goes, no, actually he gets another green light. Then he goes, "Well, I'm just trying to figure out if it's going to be, throughout the whole marriage." That's a yellow light because that's a very weird, okay. But he wants to know, I'm going to say why it's a yellow light. Because I think he's making it a bigger deal than what she originally said. But he's trying to verify before he gets into a marriage where he gonna be cheating or doing whatever. Okay, we want you to verify, right? Well, then she's like, "No, I'm telling you, it's because of X, Y, and Z." But now you're making me feel like if I have a serious issue or if I'm pregnant or I'm this or that, it's going to be a problem. That was a fair response. Here's where the red light is. Then he comes back and says, "Well, I just don't want this to be my marriage." Well, now you're centering yourself. Now you're not listening. Now you're showing that actually you're not even worried about, you're not worried about it just being a permanent thing. You're only thinking about you. I think her response was trying to make it about them.
No, it wasn't. It was about her. Why you were doing you followed the line very well, right? But then we veered off. We went to a line, and then she said basically that she's been PMSing in a situation, right? Which then he responds and says, "Well, okay, there's been other because you're not adding his response. His response was, "Hey, it's not about this. It's about the 3 other times where I've tried to touch you and I've been rejected." Moving forward from there, then she goes on to say about how she has a fear. This is why I said it's a conversation. She goes on to say there's a fear. What would happen if I'm pregnant? What happens if I'm sick? What happens if this? Which is fair. She's stating her fears, and he's saying, "Hey, can I be honest with you? There are in this situation because I'm a bit," and he hasn't said the words fear again because again we can't say no one's fear. But his response also is, "Then well, I'm saying to you, listen, what I don't also want to see in a marriage is that I don't want to be in a sexist marriage. That's my fear too, because she's mentioned her fear, he's mentioned his fear. What is wrong with people mentioning their fear?"
So then let's give them 2 yellow lights, and let me tell you where you get the red light in. When she said that, she gets a yellow light. Then he's centering himself because you could say they're both centering themselves or their issues if you want to say that. She's centering her issues. He's centering his issues. At that point, you get 2 yellow lights equal a red light, and you need to move the hell on. What Sean is saying is, as a man, if you want to really try to be a man in a marriage and try to make things work, when it comes to this particular issue, especially where women have very nuanced and unique situations, Sean is saying my recommendation, as for men, is to try to decenter themselves in this type of situation. But if Ramses is unable to do that and she has her own fears, my suggestion is that these 2 yellow lights become a red light and you get the hell on. Because what I do know is that if you do have autoimmune diseases, if you do have other issues, or if life just happens to come up and you're with a partner that has these type of concerns, it's not going to work out. And I'm just talking about these type of concerns. I'm not saying that men cannot voice their issues on a variety of other subjects. But I'm saying when it comes to this,
but it affects me too. No, but it affects me too. This is what I'm trying to say. The conversation involves both parties, but you're trying to make it one person. And I'm trying to tell you can't center on one person. Even if you're sick, and I say to you, listen, I'm a little bit scared, right? For instance, we saw this on Married at First Sight last season, right? Old girl that had all the sicknesses, bruv. Yeah, we were all in agreement. Like, you know what? I don't know how a brother wants to do the marriage because, bro, she got bare sicknesses. He's a bit scared of even wanting to even have sex with her, right? We all understood because she was like, it seems that she might be a little bit fragile. Because at the end of the day, whether she's PMSing or not, what I'm saying to you is it affects both people. And if he then tells you this is my fear, He has not said you have to do this. He said, listen, I now have to really consider this because I'm seeing other behaviors too about the situation. I'm thinking to myself, do I want to be in this situation? Do I want to be in this situation? Do you know what I'm saying to you? So I'm not saying he doesn't have to consider her. This is what I'm saying to you. We're not missing you. I'm saying to you, it's not saying that he doesn't have to consider her. I'm saying to you that they both, you're saying that he has to consider her. And I'm saying, yeah, he does. And she has to consider him. And that may mean what negotiation are we going to come to? If that means when you are in this place, what do I need to do for myself? I need to start moving in a particular way. I need to be okay in this particular situation. I need to find some hobbies maybe to do some work in this situation. Whatever you got to do, right? It's a conversation. And I'm saying to you that the only red flag that I would say is it's a condom conversation that they had. But in this situation, they both had to have a conversation and they both need to negotiate what that looks like. So why are we robbing the other party of that negotiation and saying you just need to accept it as it is? How can you just accept it as it is? Can we ask the honest question here? Seaway, your husband says to you now 3 times, I don't want to have sex. Are you not going to think there's something wrong? Are you going to now say I don't have needs?
Yeah, I would ask.
Are you now gonna say I don't have needs? I just need to accept it as it is?
I would say that. I would say I have no, but it depends on his reasoning. Because to me, and maybe this is where we're also missing. I think your needs in a marriage need to be talked about, and I think that needs to be the bigger conversation. There are needs in marriage, but when you decide to marry someone, you have to understand that sometimes your needs take a back seat to certain situations. That's just part of marriage. And I think a lot of people are not ready to be married. And if you know that's going to be a deal breaker for you, who am I to judge? But what I'm saying is if that's a deal breaker for you, Marissa seems like, and I'm going to let Elsa go, like she really wants someone who's going to be considerate, who's going to do her ebbs and flows, who's going to flow with her in the wind. She's flowing in the wind about a whole bunch of bull crap. Who's going to flow with her in the wind with this and that. And Ramses is not that guy. He's not that guy. Even if you want to leave it there, he's not that guy.
I agree that Ramses may not be that guy, but when I'm looking at the scene in the kitchen, the grace I gave Ramses is that he did put her needs first. He did not try to physically touch her. He stayed with his hands to himself. And when it was time, I guess she felt comfortable, she came to him and initiated the physical touch. So while we're like, he's overstimulating her, and she said that, he, to me, has processed that and like, okay, I'm going to not try to overstimulate her with the physical touch and all of that. They had the conversation. And she then later on, after she felt, I guess, comfortable, as Kojo said in his previous, breakdown, she felt safe in that moment. She initiated the physical touch. So again, while we're having the back and forth and saying what we need from each other, so while he's saying he's scared he doesn't get to touch her, she has also said, okay, I will hug you. This is the extent of the physical touch I can handle right now. And it seems like they came to like a mutual understanding in that moment. So yes, I see he has pulled back from touching her a lot. But again, she realized he does need it. So again, it is 2 of them in the marriage, and they're trying to navigate with a very short window.
They got to be honest. Elle said they have to be honest. I think both of them are not being honest. She needs to be honest about the fact that she really wants a man that's going to be more selfless in general. I think maybe, and I think Kojo, this is also probably something that's not coming up. Usually when men have these conversations, it usually goes along with them being self-centered and selfish people in general. That's not always. Sometimes it just comes down to needing emotional touch, physical touch, lack of sexual compatibility. But I think a lot of times when women see this from men, they're usually just in general very selfish individuals. And I think Marissa is not being honest about the fact that she really wants a different type of man. And she really values different things that she's not voicing. And I think that's a major problem. Ramses at least is being honest about, to your point, Kojo, he's being honest. He's being upfront with whatever the bullcrap he got going on or honesty he got going on. Marissa is not, she's tiptoeing with it. She do a little dab and then she tries to give him a hug. When she really just needs to stand on, I don't want a man who gonna act this funny because I don't give him none for 3 days. That's really the truth. So, I mean, I don't like Ramses. I don't like what Ramses is saying. I'm not going to say I don't like his honesty, but what I will say is that Ramses' viewpoint on this is not his discussion on it. I just don't like his viewpoint and his way. It just wouldn't work for me. To me, the way his kind of feelings on this is just not my version of an ideal man. It's not my version of a husband. But honestly, what Marissa is doing is not what I would do either. I think she's going to have to be more honest, or you're going to keep getting, these type of situations. Because I'm going to tell you straight up from the beginning. I hear what you're saying. I don't mind you telling me this. But we just going to be fighting for years and years and years. If this is going to be your point of contention, we're going to be fighting. So it may not work. You get what I mean? Like this just may not work. So.
Yeah, I just have a belief that there's certain things that and some of this is stuff I've known as a man, and some of this is that I've am coming to know that there's just certain things we are going to have to let go of. And some of that idea is our possession of women and how we view them. And it takes a lot of work because everything around us makes it convenient for us to have access to feel like we have ownership of. And it's not easy for us to sit back and think like, oh, I might not be able to have sex with my wife. Well, that's not a bad thing, right? Yeah, it's not in per se. However, it doesn't mean you have access to her despite her will. It doesn't mean you have access to her just for whenever your own pleasure, whenever you want. And just because you want pleasure doesn't mean that she wants pleasure in that moment. And I think the more we as men who are going to have to take the ownership because we have the privilege when it comes to this, when we lean into it that way, we're going to get a woman that is more open to us. So I think like the weight is on Ramses, and it's also on him heavily for me because of how he positioned himself. He didn't position himself as the frat boy who, was used to getting ladies all the time, kind of sort of like how Nick did, because I wouldn't be surprised if that was this conversation. He positioned himself to someone that's open, someone that does things a little different, somebody that challenges the norm. So he should be doing some of this work, and I think more empathetic. We expected him to show up more empathetic than I think he did in this moment. Yeah, great conversations. Oh, he didn't touch her because she did. That's the bare minimum. If a woman asks you not to be touched, you should be okay with being like, okay, and not touch her. Like, point for saying, oh, I accepted her. Like, I think that's horrible to reward somebody for, she said no, and I agreed. No, that's what you should be doing all day, every day.
Kojo said you're going to be in a sexless marriage, Sean.
Bro.
I was married for 5 years, and trust me, sex wasn't the reason we're not together today. All right, so hey.
So you don't have that issue. Thank you. So you don't have that issue. So pipe down a minute.
Sean probably made
You don't have that issue. I'm joking with him.
Don't try to steamroll some point in there. No, the issue is there were moments in my marriage that were sexless. There were times when my wife had to have a major surgery on the lower half of her body where we didn't have sex for 8 weeks. Okay. Yes. There were times in our marriage where she just wasn't feeling me in that moment. And yes, did my feelings get hurt at first? But I had to learn, like, hey, if I want to experience my wife intimately, I need to learn my wife. I need to learn what makes her feel good.
What did you learn?
No.
What did you learn?
I learned that sometimes I need to give her space. So if she says, hey, babe, I'm not feeling it. I have cramps. Then I say, hey, can I rub your stomach? Can I give you a massage? And she's like, nah, I don't want your massages. Then she was like, you know what? And I'm like, hey, listen, I'll back off. Then one time outside of that, I gave her a massage, rubbed her down, no sexual desire requested. She was like, I like that, right? So the next time she wasn't feeling good or feeling up to it, she asked me, can you give me one of those massages like you did last time? So I think that's me having to step out of my own feelings of being hurt in the moment or feeling like I was rejected and pivoting and, hey, I can't down on her.
But you did the same thing Ramses did. When you got okay, listen. Okay, hold on. What? When you were in that situation, what did you do? Did you have a conversation with your wife?
I asked her. I
No,
said,
no, no.
hey,
Did you
what's
have a
going on?
conversation with your wife, Sean?
Yes, I did.
As you should, because that's what you should do, right? And
Right.
did you let her know how you felt?
No, I just said, hey, what's going on?
So you didn't let her know that you felt some type of way.
No, I said, what's going on? This is not like you. I said, what's going on? And then she explained to me. And we
Well, actually,
moved on.
you should have been entitled. What do you mean you were asking what's going on? You should just know. Since you're out here talking about what you're talking about,
You're
that's the point I'm trying to say.
You're trying to get to
No,
deep.
no, I'm making a point. It is the
No.
fact that you had
No, I'm
you
not-
did exactly the same thing I'm talking about.
But
You did the
Kojo.
exact same thing I said you
No,
should do, which is
Kojo,
have
I
a
did-
conversation.
What Ramses did, he didn't. I'm not talking about the asking. And Seaway did that with her red light, green light, 1, 2, 3, which went over your head. What she's not saying the questions. It's about his response and him now continuing to push the issue. He asked, she answered. He's still continuing to go on.
What
And
did
still
he
have-
continue to do? What did he say?
He said, I'm doubting. He said, I feel like
Is he
this
married?
how things are going to
Or
play out.
were you
in
married?
The rest of my marriage.
You're comparing two different situations. You're married. You've already made a commitment. You don't get to have the same response because you are married. You made vows and to
Kojo.
God right in front of
And
him.
you're not.
We are not.
But you're
wait-
not married.
Exactly.
You
That's the
but you're
point.
commenting. But you're
That's the
commenting.
point. No. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
That's
not
what I'm
married
saying.
today.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Sean. You're
Yeah,
missing me. That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
I
I'm not saying you
disagree
can't talk
with
about
you.
it. No, I'm not saying you can't talk about it, Sean. I'm not saying you can't talk about it. This is what I'm saying to you. You were married, so you had already made a commitment to your wife. So this is what you have set your stall as what I'm going to do. So before that, if you're not married, you're going to ask the question, is this what I actually want? That is the thing I'm trying to tell you. So there's a difference. You already married. You're committed. We expect you to. You said vows. You haven't got no choice, my guy. You understand what I'm saying to you? You stick it out. But they are not married, which is why I'm saying to you there's a difference in the situation of the context. Number two, they are getting married within a few weeks. So it's also a scary place to be in because you don't get the same measure of time. But again, he has to be accountable because he chose to be in this process. So I'm going to be cool with that. But I'm just saying I understand the mindset that it's a few weeks and you have to make a quick decision and things are changing very, very quickly. Of course, you're going to ask questions. Right? Of course you're going to ask questions. The person suddenly is changed, being hypersexual, and suddenly they're not deemed as hypersexual. You're going to ask questions. You're going to have a conversation. You're going to find out, just like you did. Now, you decided to take an approach where you said, I'm going to try and understand. But you had a conversation first. That's what I'm saying, bro. I don't think we're on a different plane. You know, I think we're on the same side here,
we're
bro.
on totally different planes. You know, and the point is, it's not about being married or not being married. They're having sex, right? So at the end of the day, I've never married or unmarried. Whenever I've engaged sexually with a woman, I don't make my needs pivotal on hers, and I don't give her an ultimatum. Like if you do X, Y, and Z, then I'm making a situation predicated on your sexual engagement with me. And I think that's where we're on two different planes with this. I think he's wrong whether they're married or not. I'm talking about in the context of marriage because it makes it even worse. Because at the end of the day, he's telling her, and V said it in the private chat, it's like an ultimatum. And that's the subtext of what he said to her is like, if you don't do this, give me your body. Again, I don't know what you didn't hear. But he said it to her. He was like, I'm having questions and doubts about if our marriage can work if you're going to do this. If you're not giving me the sexual intimacy I require, then it's going to be a no for me. And that's a dangerous precedent because sex changes. It changes throughout the duration of your marriage. It ebbs and flows. I was married.
What is wrong with that?
Yeah.
You have to decide whether you want this relationship or not. I don't get it. You have to decide whether you want the relationship.
What I'm saying, Kojo, is you can't take a finite moment in time and have an expectation on your wife that she's going to have sex the same way throughout your marriage. I think that's unfair and that's unrealistic to say, oh, just because we're having sex 5 times a week now, then my expectation is that for the next 5 years, we're going to be doing that all the way. It doesn't work that way. That's not realistic to think. Things happen, life changes. And Marissa brought that up, which I think is so important because she says, what if I get sick? What if I have babies, right? What is going to happen then? Because that's really going to be a long window. And he didn't answer the question. He didn't say, oh, babe, I have understanding for that.
He's not sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he shouldn't get married. That's the point. He shouldn't get married because he's still afraid of it, which I agree with you. I agree with you. But again, we're not arguing about whether he should get married or not.
Unprotected sex because that produces babies.
And whose fault is that?
Both of theirs.
So my whole point is that this is on both of them. The whole point of we're having an argument is because you're trying to put it on one person, and I'm telling you, you have to consider both people. That's all. That's all. That's the argument we're having. The only argument we're having right now is you want it to be one person, and I'm saying to you, it cannot be one person. But V, go on, because me and Sean, we gonna go at it like cats and dogs.
Y'all are gonna keep going. It's a good conversation. I'm enjoying it. But like I said, behind the scenes, there's an underlying tone, a biblical undertone to the situation. I find it very ironic because some moments Marissa says she doesn't adhere to religious things, and that could be why she's acting that way. But in the Bible, it basically says, your husband's body belongs to you, the wife's body belongs to the husband. That's why you're getting married. And unless you're praying or doing something, or when you're supposedly unclean, you're not supposed to be doing. You're supposed to give it up every time. And I see people saying it in the chat. But at some point, don't you want a willing partner? It's giving hypocritical. It's giving hypocritical because certain things are being used, especially by Ramses, because he has a certain religious undertone, and then Marissa doesn't. And so I think that's flowing under there as well. But I am in agreement that nobody has a right to your body per se, because if we start going down that path, it's a very dangerous path to go down or whatever. So everybody should be open and willing. And if there's a reason that the person is not open and willing to be with you, and you are married in a committed situation, depending on what your beliefs are, you do need to dig in and speak to each other and find out what's going on, because this is supposed to be a long haul situation, right? So you got to figure out what's going on and make it work.
So in the same vein, pun intended, based on what I'm about to say, if I'm dating someone in the position of Ramses and Marissa, let's flip it. What if Ramses ain't performing? I'm going to ask the question, is this the beginning of our marriage? Is this what it's going to become? And I have to decide if this is what I'm willing to live with. So again, it can't just be on one person. We have to have the conversation before a commitment. We're acting like she could be the only one sick, and she could be the only one that doesn't wish to perform or cannot perform. So again, let's not just focus on just her side of things. She also has to think, hey, there are men in their 30s who cannot perform today. So she has to determine, hey, can I live with this? Hot and heavy on vacation. Is it only when you're around salt water you can go? I need to determine if I wish to live like this continuously, because it can only progress from here. So again, let's look at it from both sides. He too could have performance anxiety issues based on this conversation.
Yo, Elsa be killing me, man. I'm just the ED killed me, and then B said she said what she said. Not hear it, B. Yeah, listen. Look, I think it's been a healthy debate, and see how we both respect each other's opinion. We didn't agree, but we respected each other's opinions, and that's two healthy adults, 6 healthy adults, going at it, and working there. So good conversation, guys. Let's get on to that last one. I think we'll all agree on to the last couple. I think we can all agree here on this one when we're talking, about. When we're talking about not Ramsey, we're talking about Ashley and I'm about to call him Tinder. Ashley and Tyler, and listen, she took him back. You know what? I'm gonna say, I have a change of heart. I think she should take him back. I think you know what? God knows how to make stories that are ugly turn them beautiful. You know what I mean? I think he can use the situation. If he can use David and Bathsheba, he can use Ashley and Tyler. If he can use Samson and the prostitute, why can he not use Ashley and Tyler? If he can use Samson and Delilah, why can he not use Tyler and Ashley? If he can use Abraham, Hagar, and Sarah's situation, why can't he use Ashley and Tyler? Talk to me, somebody. What are your thoughts on Ashley and Tyler? You know, him having the 3 kids and her, you know, saying that she's strong and she's back with it. Shout out to Ashley as well. She followed me back on Insta. I just want to say it. So I'm going to be very biased and I'm going to talk everything good about her because I think she's absolutely beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna simp this all the way in. I'm just going to take that now. I'm going to do a Sean. Listen, and I'm not going to change my mind. Ashley, do whatever you want, baby. Okay, do whatever you want, baby. Okay, all right. What's you guys' thoughts? What's you guys' thoughts on this situation?
You
Talk
jumping
to
out
me,
the plane for Ashley? You jumping out that
baby. Listen, I'm gonna crash out for Ashley. Okay, that woman is fine. Okay, she just needs the right kind of. If it's Tyler, it's Tyler. But you know, I'm always waiting in my Bible. Okay.
I'm sorry. If she liked it, I gotta love it. But my problem is not only him lying about having children in this world, but he has some serious financial issues and judgments out there. I mean, he's not telling her the heavy load they got to carry together. So yeah, it's all well and good. You know, she does, you know, stand by my man. But the thing is, your man did not tell you that the caboose that is going to be pulled behind him. He has not let you know that the kids are a part of his life, that he does have kids, that it is with a friend. You know, you are going to encounter them. That is something strong you have to consider, even if it was thinking about adoption, you know, birth families coming into your life. But again, I wish they don't get married, but that whole ride or perish mentality, she's probably going to stick with him. She's probably going to ride the rough wave with him. But, you know, I'm hoping that by the reunion that she kind of wakes up, because if she don't have a post-nump, his debts, like Hannah said, my debts become your debts. And I don't think Ashley is aware of how much debt he coming with.
And that's the reason why women need to divest after a certain age. You really need to think about divesting once you hit a certain age. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm being dead serious. These men, especially these black men, are preying on women like Ashley. Beautiful women who got all their money together, did everything right. And they know that when they see a fine man that look like Tyler, they just think they got a unicorn. It's not a unicorn. It's a rat. It's not a unicorn. It's a possum. It's not a unicorn. The fact of the matter is at that age, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to black women. I'm not even talking to the rest of y'all. Just know at that age, a person who looks like Tyler has something to him. He either got kids to him, judgments to him, a secret ex-wife, some secret kids. He got something to him. And you need to do your due diligence, and you have to meet somebody through other people. You cannot do blind situations in 30 plus. And that's just the fact. I'm so sorry to tell you. That's not to say that the people of other races, you're immune from that, but I do think you have a better chance. So you just have to be mindful. Unfortunately, in our community, because of what black men have to go through, because of the cards that are stacked against them, you need to try to find them early. If you find them or you don't already know them in your 30s, I promise you, Tyler is not the only one. There are more possums like him. And I just feel so bad because this is always the story. And if they're not none of that, they're a part of the community. Why do you think that Married at First Sight can't find a straight man? I should have known that something was wrong with Love is Blind when I'm like, how they find this nice looking black man and he's not from the community? I should have known. They're either part of the community or there's something very wrong. It'd be either or. We got one, Tiffany's guy from Love is Blind, one that's okay. It's just too much. I'm just going to be honest. I'm tired of being fake about this at this point. Yeah, that's all
I just wanted to add, I don't want to be a possum, and Also, as far as Tyler and Ashley, I'm gonna say something, and I hate to say it. Ashley is a pick-me-sha. Sorry. Hate to break it to you guys. She's beautiful, but a pick-me-sha. Tyler sat on that camera and she asked, "Does those kids know how you look?" And he lied. And the fact that he didn't tell her about that, yo, you can't trust Tyler, yo. People are saying they're still together. I really hope not. I hate to be like that. I hope not. But I this is my message to black women, right? Getting married should not be everything to you, right? You being married or getting married is it should be a privilege, not a necessity. You can live a great life without being married. Maybe a long-term partnership, or if you want to get married, something like that. But when dudes give you red flags, now not by not telling you they have 3 children artificially inseminated with a friend, yo, first of all, black men don't do that. I just want to point that out. Yo, run. She needs to run. My man is a liar. And you know what the weird thing about it? If you look at their conversations, it's our communication. That's our superpower. Is our communication. Ain't nobody gonna be able to tell me nothing bad about you. Oh, it's gonna be people that's gonna come out and say something bad about me, but don't believe it. Hey, yo, don't be no ride or perish, as El Cid eloquently said, for nobody but yourself. Yo, Ashley needs to run. She is, yo, run. Even when her dad called her a ride or die, like that was cringy. That was cringy. And even when her mother, when they went wedding dress shopping, and she said, "Oh, I think Tyler's great for Ashley." I said, "Does she know about the 3 children?" Yo, Ashley, run, baby, run. Please run. Come on, meet me for brunch on Sunday. Yo, run. My man is a red flag. He is not honest. He is not genuine. And you know what makes me mad about the whole situation is that all of this, let's pray together. Let's pray together. Let's get in prayer. Dog, be honest with this woman about your situation. Yo, off with his head. Ashley run, but she ain't. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Phil. I just want to let you know, Ashley, if you're watching this, because I think you might be, these views don't reflect what I feel about you. Okay, I just want to let it make it very, very clear. If you didn't see the message earlier on, I happen to think whatever you feel is best, I'm with it. Totally with it. Totally with it. Go with what your heart is telling you to do. If you have a dream about me, by the Lord's grace, listen, just know I'm here supporting you in prayer. Who's next? I'm trying to get my interview, y'all. Y'all play with me.
I was gonna say
my weird. Go for it.
I'm praying for you to get your interview as well. But I agree with Seaway to a point, about 90%, and with Phil. Ashley is definitely wanting to be chosen, wants to get married, and her parents usually step in and kind of show out for you and make sure you're good, and the parents kind of let him slide through unless there's other scenes that we didn't see anything about. But Tyler was giving me, sorry Tyler, but he's been giving me scammer from the time he came on the screen. First of all, he first said he was a nuclear security officer. I actually know what that is. It's low-key TSA because I work. I'm not gonna start work, but anyway, I know what that is. It's glorified TSA. Then he said he worked on the computers and everything, and he did a security. So I said, okay, cool. He might be cybersecurity and everything. Okay, cool, whatever. Then he turns around and says he does some special account manager for drywall. The man, nothing he says is viable or true. Allegedly, nothing he's saying is viable or true. But Ashley is just going along with it, and the way that this man lies. He just lies, and she said, "Oh yeah," like you guys said, he's a good communicator. We're soulmates. All these happy amazing things, like Seaway is saying, that's a possum. That's not, it's a possum. That's what it is. I don't like it. I wish she would escape, but she is so hell bent on being married that if she's gonna, even if the kids come out to the house and hang out with her, she's gonna be a great stepmom, whatever. Actually, whatever. She's gonna take it because she wants to be married. That is her goal. And whatever she has to go through to get to it, she is going to, like I said, ride or pass away, ride or pass on a lot, whatever you're gonna say. She is going to ride for that man. She already decided what she's gonna do. And like El Cid said, he has all this debt allegedly, all these different things. We need to stop the madness. I had somebody who I work with come to me because her friend met somebody online to date, and the friend, she was leery about it. She came to me. She said, "How can we vet them? Black women do vet, contrary to what people are saying in the comments. People lie. They pretend to be different things. You find out later, and once you find out, you're low key in love, and then you just go with it anyway." I think that's what Ashley's doing. She already said she was going to commit to the man, so she's going to help pay child support. She's going to do all the things he needs in order to prove that she was worthy of being wife material. So that's my thought.
It's going to be worse. I don't even think she's going to be a good mom. I think that she's probably going to end up being, she seems like she's going to end up being one of them pick-me's that actually try to pretend like the kids don't exist. Because in her fairy tale world, she want her 3 kids and it'd be the first ones. Honestly, I think she probably half the reason why he ain't seeing them kids. Because a good woman would make sure that you're seeing your kids. So, and then, you know, he gave you one a gender too. He got a gender apiece. She can't have nothing. She ain't got no choice but to pretend them kids don't exist. I promise you that's what's going on right now. So, you know, them type of women ain't no better. Ashley getting a pass now, but they gonna drag her for filth if they found out that she's still with that man and he done played all them games with these kids. Oh, she gonna get hell. That's why she quiet. That's why she ain't making no TikToks. That's why she ain't said nothing, because she's with that man after he did not claim them kids. So she gonna get drugged next. So I hope she getting ready for it.
Notice production cut off when she was talking to the girls about him having kids. They cut that conversation real quick at the table.
You saw that, Elsie? Sure did. She said, "Oh, you didn't know about my problem?"
Tyler got kids. And then, boops, Katie walks in. Cut the camera.
Cut it. Listen, cut it. We don't want to ruin this couple. I think they're going to get married personally, to be honest. You know, Ashley, if you want to do that, it's fine, by the way. You know, we're here to support equal lefts and rights. But, you know, listen, I think they're going to get married because if you go on her page, she posted a picture of a BTS. And it was a picture, had a few pictures on it. They were on holiday. I don't know if it's a Cabo picture or whatever. Her and him booed up, you know, them on a camel. You know, him eating Nigerian food. So, baby, I think they said yes. I think they're together. I think they married. Okay. Plus, well, I don't see the rings on the hand, but they use the right hand. That's not the left hand. So, and his left hand looks a bit empty. Okay, maybe not. They could, but I think they're still together. There's picture, before posting up those pictures potentially. So, you know, we might just have to accept it as it is. And again, Ashley, you know, I'm here to support you. Like Sean always says as well, we just need to just support the women no matter what happens. Even if the men are trash, support the ladies always. And I think that is the best way to go. No one else's needs matter. So we definitely are supporting you in this way as well, Ashley. So
don't throw me in with your foolishness.
Little black
Do not throw me in with your nonsense and your antics here, whatever angle you're working. Listen, y'all gonna be sick and tired of me, but at the end of the day, this is just patriarchy at its best. I'm sorry, you know. I hate to hang everything on the shoulders of us men. We gonna have to bear it because the daddy set her up, and this is how men perpetuate. I'm gonna be a one-trick pony tonight, but this is how men perpetuate and engender patriarchy. Because when that daddy said he's a ride or die, he has trained and groomed his daughter to accept this nonsense, because her first mind knew that it wasn't correct for her to stay with this guy after finding out that he's got 3 kids, when the whole time in the pods they were supposed to be getting to know everything about each other. And
Hey,
he
Sean,
left.
is that man Nigerian? Is that the Nigerian man?
Her father is Nigerian. Yeah, so
But
listen,
didn't I get dragged on Little Black Book when I said I don't date
don't do
Nigerian
it.
man?
Anyway, I'm trying to protect you. Don't connect those dots. Don't connect the dots.
Use that patriarchy, Sean. Use that patriarchy and protect her. Use that patriarchy. Use that patriarchy and protect her.
Not on this point, please.
Okay, I thought somebody
protect her, Sean. She needs patriarchy right now.
I'm trying to. I'm not trying to, assert my dominance, but I'm just trying to give you a heads up that might not be something you want to connect. That's all. But hey, you do what you need to, sis. I got you. But yeah, her dad set her up in a very big way. In a very, very big way. And I think that's unfortunate, because dads don't do a good enough job with their daughters to prepare them. And I think sometimes dads overcorrect. But this wasn't one of those instances. This wasn't one of those times. He set the stage for her to tolerate the bull, and unfortunately her rose-colored glasses and the way she saw Tyler she couldn't wipe them clean. To see the dust that was right before her, the dust storm, the mudslide. I mean, so many catastrophes, the tsunami that will be a relationship with her. And we see this happen with women so many times. And I feel bad for my ladies. Like, you guys have a gift of intuition. Go with it. She knew that pause that she had in the beginning. You saw it. She was feeling a ways. She was sitting on that couch. She was talking to him, and it changed. And it's horrible. We saw it with, listen, DDG and Haley. The world was telling her, don't be with that dude. Don't be with them. But sometimes people got to stick their toe in the water and find out. Listen, I don't wish bad on anybody, so I don't want it to crash and fail for Ashley, but I can't see it going any other way. I'm sorry. If a man is going to deceive you so blatantly from the very early stages of getting to know him, to leave out a critical component of the relationship, of who he is and a part of him, bad business. Even if he was just a sperm donor, which we know to be false, right? Whatever the capacity he is in those children's lives, he is in their lives. I don't know. There's some truth in the middle somewhere between what TikTok says and reality, but he's lying about a lot of things, and I think that's bad. I mean, it's not like little things like Garrett and his text message gate. This is bad stuff. She should run, but I don't think she will. I think she thinks she can try to save him. I think she thinks her nurturing will give her a better and a different outcome, and I just don't see it for her to happen. And I think he's horrible. That's it.
But this is the reason why I say pick-me's are the root of all evil. And I say this, and I've been saying this on this channel multiple times, because this man is bad, right? He's all the things that we said, but it didn't seem like until she came into his life and married him, which I'm assuming she did. Now he don't see his kids at all. At least before, he was lying on the kids, but he was still there. But because here come Pygmisha, who wants to be the only one, who thinks her love saves everything, now he don't even see his kids. There can't be a Tyler if there isn't a Pygmisha. I think people don't understand. Tylers are fueled in gas. They receive all of their energy from the air of the Pygmishas. And this is why I always get on the Pygmishas, because how you as a woman are okay with a man not seeing his kids? How do you lay next to a man that's not seeing his kids? That makes me ill.
Pete Ferris, a sperm donor.
Right, okay. With the matching PJs.
Hey, he just wants those kids to have at least some level of
is he in the community? Maybe he's in the community. Maybe too. He's got some other stuff going on too.
Oh no. He just wants to support the ladies and make sure they have a good support system around them.
No, it may be something to him too. Maybe that's why he wrapped up in all this stuff, because have you seen the baby mama?
Listen, the baby mother, and that's why I do believe that there may. That's why I do believe there may have been originally an idea of sperm donor, and then he got involved because this was very informal. I do believe that, but then there's obviously there's a case of child support against him. I don't know if that is. We have to. I would love for him to come out and really fully explain it because everyone's explaining their point of view, and I'd love for him to come out and explain what actually happened, and then let's compare against what's happened. But for now, I agree with what you guys are saying. I just don't think this is really working for me,
No, he was
and
trying
because
to
he
help
lied
it.
about
He was
it.
trying to help. He was trying to help the baby mama who was a stud, from what I can see. He was trying to help, but then I don't know because he got his own issues going on. He started to get attached to the kid behind the couple's back, and then his fiance at the time, who's a complete, as the white people say, smoke show. Okay, found out that he was doing the most, and then she left him, and then he decided to go have twins naturally with the stud. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot going on here.
I think he just, well, like I said, he wanted to do it naturally, and he wanted to enjoy doing it naturally. I mean, I can see that
That's the
happening.
first time. I'm talking about the second time.
Yeah, sometimes you make a mistake twice. It happens.
No, that's not a mistake on
Good
the
Lord
second
knows
time.
we've been there. The good Lord knows we've all been in a situation where we made a
Yeah,
mistake twice.
like was it Briche? He was cheating on his fiance with a stud. Like, let that sit in. You understand what's happening here?
Sometimes you're a freak. Sometimes you just got a freak in you. You want to do something a little bit different. Okay, all right. It's sometimes a little bit of a freak.
It's
You know
all
what I'm
on
saying, G?
TikTok, y'all. It's everywhere. It's on Facebook.
I'm
It's
just
on
saying.
Instagram. It's on TikTok.
I'm not giving him a pass. I'm just kind of saying I can see some nuances in the story. I think there is some nuances there. I'm just saying that personally, I don't like the fact he lied. If he was honest, I'd have said it's a very sketchy story, but still he's honest. But the fact that he lied and has continued to lie on that situation is where I have an issue with it with Ashley, because he's actually on national television telling us he has the kids don't even recognize his face. Meanwhile, we're seeing pictures of you with the face of the kids. So like that for me is a blatant lie. But
Taking photos in the mall, Kojo. Taking one of them in Chicago, we call them Magic City photos, magic photos in the mall with matching outfits on with the stud. Kojo, if
maybe
you did this,
maybe the kids can't see. Maybe they can't see.
the kids weren't there. It was just him in the stud.
Oh yeah. Listen, hey, when you listen, man, then will do a lot to get a bit of poussoir. It doesn't matter if it comes in a stud form or if it comes in a sexual form. It is poussoir at the end of the day. Again, this is where men and women can differ, and some men are gonna say no, they would never do it, and I understand. But I understand poussoir be poussoir, because I see what some men were dealing with. Even if she's feminine, some of the women are below your standards, and the man will still go there. So when there's a poussoir at the end of it, Seaway, all you need to understand is there's a poussoir at the end of it.
Okay,
that's
I'm
it.
my business. Thank you. I understand now. I appreciate you.
But I'm not saying you're not wrong. You could be. I'm just saying. You never know. You've been right many a time, so let me not deny the prophet. I've told you this already. You and El Cid.
Well, I don't know.
Layla.
I'm not prophesizing nothing. I do not understand Tyler at all.
He better not come out with ABCD. So Layla, go for it.
Hi everybody. It's been a while. I'm a little rusty, so please bear with me. But yeah, I just I have a lot of feelings about Love is Blind. I keep swearing I'm off this show, and then they keep pulling me back in. Tyler, it's really not about the kids. It's really just about the inconsistent stories around the children. It's about just like, are you Uncle Tyler or are you Daddy? Like, what do they call you when they see you? Ashley at first was asking a lot of like really intelligent questions. She was literally like, I need to see the paperwork. I need to see the legalities of everything. I need to understand like how this came about and where it's going. And I really hope she stood on that, but I kind of don't think she did. I kind of think she let it go. And because there's no way that the paperwork tells a story that matches up with what he said to her in person. And then he had the nerve to cry. I feel like Tyler is just a manipulator. Like there was a time like when he said like, you know what I did last Christmas? I just cooked myself a big meal by myself and stayed at home. And she was like, oh my God, me too. In that moment, I was like, girl, he's mirroring. You must have let that slip like a couple days ago, a couple pods ago, and now he's just repeating back to you what you already said to him, because that's such a specific story, and for it to be a lie that he made up out of nowhere, and coincidentally it's the exact same thing that she had done. I was like, I just think he's manipulative. I just think he's a liar. I agree with Seaway. He's the type of man that like finds women to bankroll his lifestyle. As we saw, like even the lady who has a judgment against him, there were other people under the comments like, yeah, he owes me stuff too. I think he's just moving through life as like a scammer. I don't really understand. Like, I don't want to judge him completely and say like he's a bad person based off of gossip and based off of incomplete stories or whatever it may be. It's just that like, what are we doing? Like, this show requires so much faith and so much trust and so much honesty and transparency, and he doesn't have or deserve any of those things based on what he's shown. So if they did get married, I hope she got it annulled immediately. This is one of the few cases where I believe an annulment could actually go through in DC or in Maryland or Virginia, because if you lied to me about the nature of your responsibility to these children, I feel like we shouldn't get married, because now your child support is my child support. Your debt to this lady is my debt to this lady. How is that smart? Ashley, she just seems like such an intelligent young woman. Unfortunately, like being from DC and being from the area, like I know so many girls like her. Coincidentally, so many girls named Ashley like her that even kind of look like her and are kind of like built like her. Beautiful. And get treated like this because they're just trusting and they're just like, I know my prince will come and here he is and he's so perfect and he's wrapped in exactly the right packages. Girl, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and you are looking like, you know, something in the hen house. You gotta wait. No, that's a fox. But you know what I'm saying? Sharp teeth. She's prey. She needs to be careful. All right, that's all I'm saying.
As eloquent as ever, Layla. We've missed you. Hey, listen, I'm hearing you lot. I mean, listen, hey, look, I'm just saying, you know, I'm just trying to get invited to whatever they're gonna host next. So I really can't talk wickedest or against Ashley at this point in time. But I mean, I personally do think that this situation is kind of mad. And if Ashley was my sister, I'd have told her to walk away. Only because when someone sets a presence of lying that much so early and you haven't married them, you need to consider your own needs, and you need to also think you can't trust them, and that this is potentially could continue on into the marriage, like Ramsey said. And so you should actually consider yourself on a realistic, you know, all jokes aside, you should consider yourself and say, I can't trust that this is going to be a safe place for me, because if we had we didn't even connect on sex. We connected on an emotional level of conversations. And like she said, our superpower was communication. And you faulted that with a really big lie. Now, of course, at the time, she would have not known about judgments, the financial aspect. She only knows what he told her. You know what I'm saying to you? And so in that space, I do have some grace for her at that point in time. Again, this information's also come out now. So if they've got married already, that happened when it happened. You know what I'm saying to you? So that would be very difficult to add those kind of informations. But like I said, obviously, I would have wanted her to have not necessarily rushed the decision if she got married at that point in time, actually giving herself some time to really just process what really happened. And this is why I'm saying the show puts you under pressure. I'm not blaming the show, by the way. I'm just saying the show will put you under pressure. You got a short period of time to think about it. I need her to pull a Clay, okay? I need her to smile and be like, no. You know, I need that move, and go and process it and think about it before you do anything. If you are going to decide to marry him, at least you give yourself some weeks of just processing time, this situation. You know what I mean? Like, to say, actually, this is what I want to do. Like, yesterday I interviewed a couple who had a similar situation and they didn't process it. So they're having to process it in the marriage, and it just becomes doubly harder doing that in the marriage. So I just hope that she was able to process and have time for that. You know what I mean? Any other thoughts before we wrap it up? You know, the conversation has been such a good live today. You know what I mean? You guys have really shown out today as well. Any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, in all of this, Oh, go ahead,
Elsa,
Sean.
go
No,
for it,
you
Elsa.
go ahead, Elsa. Go ahead.
In all of this, if your communication is your superpower, he did not communicate with you about something this heavy. Also, he's not protecting you. Because since he has litigations, your debt's his debt, he's not protecting you from all of the baggage that he has. So forget bag lady. We have a bag Tyler. He has so much he's carrying with him that he is not protecting her from, all that he has attached to him. And that to me is also a point where he is not ready for this marriage. Financially, he ain't ready. Hannah should be telling Tyler half the stuff she was telling, Nikki D. But he's not protecting her from all of this. And that's my point of contention too for him. Because even if she is up in the clouds mentally, he's supposed to be protecting her.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, for anybody, and Kojo, you are always an advocate of this, is like, if you've got childhood trauma, you need to heal from that, and because you're just going to act it out. And I think with Tyler, he's acting out his childhood trauma. He talked about not getting love, not getting the care and affection that he needed, per se, from his mom, and also not having a relationship with his dad. And then being isolated by his mom's family because, they're Serbian and his dad is Black. So he's mixed race. So he's got a lot of things that I don't think he's healed from. And he just lives out this trauma. And unfortunately, his trauma is spilling over into other people, and likely victims, like a lot of the women he encounters. So I think it's sad. And I think he needs to really deal with that and face it. Doesn't make your parents bad people. But it just means that you need to address the things that you're missing, or felt that were missed, so that you don't act out your trauma on other people. And unfortunately, I wish and want better for Ashley. She seems like, she's an attractive woman, seems to be very smart, but she's getting taken down to a place that I don't think she deserves, because, we should all enter relationships with with a lot of transparency, and he was not that. So that sets a dangerous precedent for him to continue to do that if she is open to forgiving that and moving on with their relationship and ultimate marriage. So I just want better.
Yeah, I definitely hear that, and I think both of them. When I did my review about Ashley as well, I said that, I said this from the very beginning of the season. Actually, I said that conversation that she spoke about in the very first episode, where she said that, she wanted to find that man, and she said that, Mom, I'm gonna find that man. That's when I knew that she was a fantasist. She likes the fantasy, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that if you're able to have a good filter system that allows you to be able to filter out and weed out people, and that you're willing to also stick to your guns, because sometimes we betray ourselves, right? In a space where we go against our rules. I know that when she went away, when he told her the first time, she went away and said to herself, my rules are, this is not it. But she, in that moment, maybe also felt like, what? Sometimes we want to feel like we have to be more understanding of people, and sometimes we can understand from afar. I don't need to understand. And one of the biggest things, I was saying this to my client today, and I was coaching that the one thing that will always seduce most people that are insecurely attached is the question why, and also the phrase understanding. It always catches people and seduces them, because we assume that by understanding you, I have to get close to you to understand you, which in some part you do, but I don't have to engage with you. And I don't need to ask why and be right next to you when I'm asking that why. I can ask that why from the other side of the room. What I mean by that is I don't need to be engaged in a relationship with you to ask the why. And it can be very difficult at points in time, because people get stuck in that and they get seduced by, let's say I try to understand you, Sean, and I know and now you start revealing certain things. I start thinking that I'm more important to you than I actually am. And that's what I said about the Clay and AD situation. The same thing happened. She thought because he said that, I'm struggling not to cheat. She thought him being that honest was also a form of emotional connection, which in part it is, but it's not the whole of emotional connection. There are other components that go alongside emotional connection that sometimes we don't also get to experience, and that only comes when we've done some work and actually we can realize there are some points of us that we are emotionally not safe in certain areas, and so we kind of validate ourselves through a safety of a relationship rather than feeling safe within ourselves. And so I understand partly maybe why she chose him, and I'll be honest, by the information that's coming out, it does feel like Tyler is a financial F-boy. And these boys are very rare. Listen, as much as I think there are there's more emotional F-boys and more sexual F-boys, but they're fun. When you meet a financial F-boy, I think they are the worst because they combine everything to get your finances. Yeah, they don't financially F you over by just financial F. Usually they F you over by using you in sex. They get you emotionally tied in, and they tie you in completely, and then they rob you. You know what I mean? Like, there's levels to this stuff. You know what I'm saying to you? But yeah, I just, you know. But hey, that's somebody's husband probably, so I want to be respectful. You know what I mean? He could be a man after God's heart, and so I just want to be fair.
I don't think so.
And that's Seaway's views. I just want to let Ashley know, just in case. I want that in view.
And mine.
And Layla's too, but they don't represent me. I don't pay them.
If I find out that let me tell you, I just want to put it out there. If I find out that Ashley is still married to this man after he done denied his kids and ran away from his kids, I don't need to do it on Little Black Book. She gonna get a 10-minute video on my TikTok, on my other TikTok. She gonna get a 10-minute video. So I really hope that she is not with this man.
I'll be done with her too. I'm sorry. If she decides to continuous to be with him after, it's how the old people say how you get him could be how you lose him. And what is to say you won't be in a position where he denies your children? So, I mean, keep it 100. But if she chooses him, that is her life. That is her decision. Just like Kojo said, I will talk about you from afar.
Listen, I hear. Any more last thoughts? And then Sean's going to wrap us up in a good benediction.
Wait, that was everybody? We ain't missing nobody?
No,
wait, I got one comment. I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Team Nick D off with everybody else's head.
Period.
I mean, he didn't give anybody good head. That's the problem right there. But sorry, I couldn't help it. I'm so sorry. Oh Lord, I'm changed. I'm so sorry.
Not that much change.
That was kind of
the same. The double, Kojo. It's okay.
Just one penny from a whole buck.
Can we just take a moment just to recognize the growth though in Sean? I just want to say, just Sean's being the voice of just like, I'm not trying to gas, I'm not trying to glaze, but to me as a woman, it's one thing if we say it, but to hear a man really like just try to stick up for us women, I really appreciate it. But what I appreciate more is the growth though.
Come on now.
I really do, because a lot of people feel like you got to be stuck in your ways. They feel like once you hit your 30s, 40s, and 50s, you can't change your perspective. And so it's nice to see a man. You're not at a particular age, but you got a particular age, and you have.
She can't throw a shot in there. You never gonna get a pure compliment. You always gonna get a shot in there.
I'm always waiting for
the penny to drop. She always gonna
keep me humble.
I gotta let you know a particular
keep me humble, and I respect it.
I just want to say that. That's it.
I think the deacon is overcorrecting, but we could talk about that later.
Oh, we have to do it on the 100 Club, baby. Mm-hmm. And discuss the things. Yeah. Well, listen, look, Deacon, I would like for you to take us out with a good benediction. Make sure you add the P's and the M's in there. Okay, we want to hear all about that. Okay. I appreciate it.
So,
wait, in the red lights and the green lights, in the red lights and the green lights.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that better than you. We might have to direct them to the timestamp, but I'll give it a good old college try. So listen, I think we had a great discussion tonight. Some things we agreed, mostly we agreed, but we did disagree. I think first I want to set the precedent that as we dissect these shows and watch these people's lives, that we also give them a little bit of grace. And that's for all of us, right? Because we are getting a 10,000 mile view into a lens of their life that they lived in real time. So some of the things we're seeing, spotting, are things that we might not necessarily pick out in our own lives. And let's use this as an example for things that perhaps we don't want to do and that we might want to do differently or better. But some of the things that I think are good call outs are, look, I've been on it. I'm going to stand on my throne, my seat, to sit in my seat 10 toes down. Men, we need to decenter ourselves. It's not a good message to hear. I know it's not comfortable because it makes us do things differently. It challenges the norm. But unfortunately, if we want better results, if we want parity, if we want equality, we're going to have to be the ones to lead the charge here, for us men that are open to changing, open to challenging the patriarchy, open to looking at some of the things we do today that are misogynistic, right? We need to be elevating our women, loving on our women, listening to our women, right? Because they've got our backs. That doesn't mean they're perfect. It doesn't mean they're always right, but it does mean that we need to step out of our comfort zone and listen to them and not make their needs about us, not to make our needs about them, but look to understand before we look to criticize, before we look to hurt, before we look to make judgments, right? Understanding is so key. Most importantly, listen, when it comes to sex, it should be a mutually enjoyable experience for both people. Enter into your intimate situations with that mindset, not about what I can get about it, not what you can get about it, but what is mutually enjoyable for both of us. So that's going to lead to healthy relationships. Lastly, I think when we look to criticize people, thinking about Hannah and Nick, Hannah, listen, we get it. We know you're frustrated. We know that Nick didn't show up the way we would want him to show up as a man and a potential husband for you. Don't mean you got to tear him down to lift him up, or doesn't mean you have to tear somebody down to lift yourself up. Now, Nick, we need you to step up, because as men, if we're going to be husbands, our wives are not our mothers. Our wives are not our caretakers. Our wives are not our nurses. They are our partners. We are supposed to be co-managing our relationships and not overly relying on our women to take care of us and overly burden them with our issues, right? When we leave our homes, we should be leaving and cleaving and being responsible adults that can carry out mundane tasks. When we think about Ramses and Marissa, hey, listen, communication is key, but also listening is a skill that many haven't honed. Listening doesn't mean hearing what you want to hear and inserting your own needs, but it's listening to hear and understand what that person is telling you and working together for a mutually agreeable decision. Not one that's one-sided, not one that centers your needs. And last but not least, I'm going to try, listen, we have to learn, right? We have to learn to start from the beginning. Begin at the beginning, not at the middle, not at the end, but begin at the beginning and don't skip steps. When we skip steps, that's when we miss the mark. So, don't go from red to green. It goes from red to yellow to green, right? So if we miss that important step, then the relationship's going to be off. Last but not least, when it comes to Tyler and Ashley, listen, we want you on this channel, baby girl. We want you to have that ultimate interview. So please give them a chance. Don't let our opinions color your perception of whether you should come. Please come. We welcome you. But we want you to leave, Tyler. I'm sorry. He got to go. Back to you, Coach.
Thank you, Deacon. We appreciate you. Listen, he said he gonna preach a pure gospel, and we appreciate that, sir. Appreciate the benediction as well. It's been a really good conversation, ladies and gents. I think we've had a healthy dialogue, and it's been really fun actually having different perspectives on different issues and just really maturely being able to go around the course of conversation. Obviously, we've got another live to do. Obviously, for when the next one comes out. I don't know why the reunion's on the 30th. I don't know why they is it 2 weeks away? That's like pretty much 2 weeks away, isn't it? Right? So I guess we get a little bit of a break on that as well. So because it's on the 30th, isn't it? Right? So I think that's 2 weeks away. Because
weddings next week. Next week is weddings, and the following week, the 30th, is the reunion.
Oh, okay. Weddings next. Do you know what? I didn't realize they were dragging out like that. My bad. You're right. So you're right. Yeah, weddings next week. So we'll have another live then on the Saturday, I think, as well. I should be in town. Let me just make sure my dates. 26th. I don't know why that date's saying something, but I don't know what it's saying. I'm gonna commit to it. So we're back on a normal Saturday time. It was only Friday because I was away tomorrow, so I couldn't do it on Saturday. So we're back on normal Saturday time, and then we'll do the next week following again. As well. So I hope you guys are enjoying the conversations. Of course, we had actually 600 people in the room, so it's been a little bit of a while since we had that. So we appreciate you guys for joining us. If you're not a member, make sure you join. It's £1, it's $1. I made it cheap. Okay, all right. Okay, I made it cheap so you don't have to feel it in your pocket, all right? I don't want to sell you any garbage about it as much as a coffee, because the coffee is more expensive, all right? So grab yourself a little membership, join the community so you can have conversations and be a part of the family as well, and to definitely be able to have some great conversation. Let me read out these super chats real quick. As well, because we had some great super chats coming through, so I appreciate that. As well, we had Nola. Darling said, why do we lie or omit to control the narrative? She said, which I definitely think is a fair point. No, Darling said, might his culture play a role in how we sees her? I think that was during the Ramsey's talk as well. So that was a good conversation we had at that point. And Tab said, she put her hand down and said, yeah, well done to you guys. And obviously we've got some new members, so shout out to Reese, Cher, Just Ashley as well, okay, Nola. We had Jenny Bibes, okay, Rose, Jay Williams, and Patricia. We had you guys as well. We appreciate you guys for joining the membership. Long may you stay and enjoy. But we'll be back next week for another one of these riveting conversations as well. Remember to stay safe out there, okay? And as Sean has said, okay, all right, the P's and the M's, okay? Remember that, the P's and the M's, okay? All right, patriarchy and misogyny, we got to undo those processes, guys, okay? So I want to see you guys put in the work for next week. Much love, much appreciation. We'll see you again soon. Ta-ra, ta-ra.